Put headphones on.
Do 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 do. I never know how long to wait. I just make up my
love
own
the new
music.
theme music. I love your new
Thanks.
theme music.
Oh,
It's
I have
gorgeous.
I have an intro. I have an intro for Drunk Atheist History. Hold on. Wrong one. And that's that. I made that myself. Not too bad, huh?
I was
Yeah.
rocking
Too
out.
bad.
I was rocking
Ox
out.
and Sandy and Cadence. No, Ox, you're not late because I started 15 minutes late. And I want to say to everybody, because I'm pretty excited, I'm going to tell everybody this right now. So I went on a Zoom meeting with 2 doctors, and apparently there are 3 female doctors in this practice. And we talked and we laughed and we had a great conversation. And I'm starting on Sunday, and they're going to let me work at my other job a couple days a week so I can still help them out until they find somebody for a week or 2. And then I'll be going full time with them. And they're starting me out $1 an hour less than I wanted, but I can survive off of it, you know, for a month or so. So, yeah, so I'm excited. And they said they'll help me further my education if I want. And like, they just hit every point I wanted. They're amazing.
Brilliant. That is awesome, B.
I know, I'm excited about it. I get to like help people. I get to work at a doctor's office and help people.
Yay.
So I'm pretty excited about it. Yes, Sandy, it will be a full-time job. The first, like I said, the first week or 2 will be a bunch of training. So after we get done here, I'm going to text my boss and say, hey, guess what? I'll be in Wednesday and Saturday next week because I got another job. Yeah, I was only getting 24 hours at the other place, so I'm not crying too much over that. And you know, it's like I was telling Will, it's really hard to work for somebody when you've been in supervisory positions for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And because I was started in supervisory positions by the time I was 24. So now we're almost to 26 years here, and to have that experience and construction knowledge and to work underneath of someone who is their first supervisor position. He's only 2 years younger than me, first supervisor position, and does not have working knowledge of a lot of things. It's really difficult to work for somebody that talks down to you and has those lack of qualities.
Well, that's the cover. That's usually what people do.
Oh yeah, if they knock you down, they look higher up.
Yeah,
right.
They'll talk shit to you because
Get
they have
knocked
no
down and they
idea.
get up again.
They have no idea what the hell they're doing. And now, thank you. I had that damn song stuck in my head.
When I get down, I get up again.
Never gonna keep
When I get down. See, that's why I don't dance in public. Now y'all know. That is exactly why I do not dance in public. So now that we're done with me bragging, because I'm kind of excited. I mean, I literally got off the phone call with them and turned on StreamYards, and Will popped in, and I shut my camera off and changed my shirt because I'm really wearing like ratty ass sweatpants, but I put a nice button up shirt on for the interview.
Yeah, I've got PJ bottoms on.
Yeah. And I got my woolly PJ socks on that I wear sometimes when it's cold at night.
Need the heater on. It's freezing.
My feet are all toasty.
Yeah, you definitely had your church clothes on.
He said it looked like I was going to church. I'm like, fuck you, Will. It's my interview shirt.
No, but we all have those, like, you know, your nice shirt, going to church, court.
Well, like I said, I have one that fits me better and it's not so loose, but I'm too fat for it. And man, it makes my arms look fucking kicking. I love that shirt. Like I put it on today and said I'm too fat for this. I'm going to start going back to the gym. And I'm serious because I want to look good in that shirt again. Because that shirt, I picked up a couple women in that shirt.
You know,
it didn't last long, but the sex was good.
I say
So-
the church shirt because I always say like, oh, I'm never gonna walk. I always said, oh, I'm never gonna walk back into a church. And someone I really cared about passed, and I walked back into church. You know,
That's why I
so
love you, Sandy, right
we need
there.
at least one good shirt.
Life has kicked you in the proverbial nuts more than once, and you keep getting back up. So, anyway, so I wanted to touch on a couple things real quick because we really haven't got to talk about it. I wanted to touch on the George Floyd trial. And of course, he got guilty on all 3 counts, and we all know that they're going to appeal it, and the sentencing isn't for 2 months. So they have plenty of time to abuse that time and try to pull him back out of it, which I don't think is going to happen personally. I think at the minimum, he's going to spend at least 20 years in jail. So
You'd hope so, anyway.
Oh my God, he better, that piece of shit. The other thing I want to bring up was the shooting in Columbus, which as soon as I found out about it, I texted my kid and said, "Are you okay?"
Is that the one with the young kid who got shot?
Yeah, she was 16.
5 times.
Yeah, he held his finger down on that trigger way too long. But
oh hell yeah, and
but,
you don't shoot to kill. They've got a knife. You've got a gun. Don't shoot to kill. You fucking shoot to maim.
Thank you. Okay, so this is my take on it. You guys can hate me or love me. I watched the video. I watched it on Nate's this morning. And he really like slowed it down and went a couple frames at a time, and we discussed it. And that was it. First of all, that was a big ass knife she had. Second of all, she was in mid swing to stab that other girl when the cop shot her. Her hand was all the way back, and she was about to give it to her.
Yeah, so I don't object that I mean, saying stop is too late. She would have stabbed. I don't necessarily object that the police officer shot 5 times.
Right.
To kill was an overreaction. An incredibly enormous overreaction.
That's what I said. This is what I said. If I was a well-trained cop, I would have one shot in the air and then shot her in the ass. And not to pick on her, but she had a big ass. Her hip was sideways, like total butt cheek.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know about the shooting in the air. It's the same thing as doing a warning. It's the same as doing stop or I'll shoot, and she's already stabbed her. She probably didn't care if she was going to be shot, to be honest, at that point. You know, the adrenaline and anger and stuff takes over. So, but shoot her in the hip or shoot her in the fucking knee or something like that. What I'm saying. She ain't going to stab the other girl. And
he
she's
had
not
a
perfect
die. Shoulder, hip, leg shot.
Yeah.
So
he went right for the damn. And I know they're trained to do that. Like I get that. That's what they're also
trained to take out other target areas.
Yeah, but they're not trained.
They are trained for the torso. That's what they're trained for, and it's ridiculous.
But they're also shot to either shoot someone to disable them or one shot, one kill. You shoot someone 5 times, you're scared.
Yes,
you're scared.
I totally agree with that.
That's holding down the trigger too long because you're freaking out.
Pussy. And I want to say something else, and this is just because of life experience. There's 2 sides to it. Okay, so where I'm from, if you're walking around with a knife, the cops are going to clip you out. They're not even going to ask you what you're doing. They're going to shoot you. So it's universally known that if you're brandishing a knife, you're gonna get shot. It's known.
Okay. So the other thing I want to point out here is Nate actually brought up the regulations for the Columbus PD, and we read it together. Like he read it with the chat, and what it says is if someone is going to cause deadly harm or shit. I forgot the other one because it doesn't apply. But they said deadly harm, then the police officer has all right to shoot him. The problem is going to be how many shots. 5 shots is ridiculous. So that was way, way, way too many shots. So that's what the main focus of the trial is going to be about. And I want to also point out that a warning shot or shooting in her in the hip would have been enough. If anybody noticed on that video, as soon as his gun went off, the guy that was still actively kicking the girl on the ground, he jumped back fast like this, like, oh, I'm done. I'm not going to kick her anymore. That guy's got a gun. I think if they would have shot a warning shot in the air, they both would have ceased and desist.
Yeah.
Rex brings up a good point. I was raised by somebody in the military, so I've always say one shot, one kill, and if you need multiple shots, you shouldn't be firing a gun.
And I tell people that when they talk about gun rights.
I was raised by a hillbilly.
Well, I need an AR-15 to protect my home. No, baby, if you need an AR-15 to protect your home and you can't do it with the 8 or less shots in your handgun, if you can't do it in the first 2, you should have ran anyways.
Yeah.
That motherfucker's going to kill you.
Yeah, right.
You're fucking stupid. You're one of the people that should fucking call the cops and hide.
It's the illusion. It's the illusion of power, though, because when you have a powerful gun, people who don't have training think that they're going to be Rambo in the heat of the moment, with no training or experience whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
My son has more experience with an AR than the average human, but he goes to a range. It's under controlled. It's under a controlled environment.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely different. But I love going to the range, honestly. And I'm looking to buy my next firearm here soon, but I need a better job first. But
my whole point is that my kid is more trained than the Gravy SEALs that are walking around Capitol buildings fully armed.
Yeah.
Fingers on the triggers, just waving it over their foot like idiots because they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
No common sense whatsoever. My son uses more common sense with a BB gun that he goes and plays in the backyard with,
Yep.
That's the problem with these idiots. That's the problem with everything that's going on right now, is that we live in the land of overkill.
Santi said too many darn guns is the problem. And I will agree with that. The problem is that in the United States, the black market and everything is so prevalent, and you can buy guns. You can just walk down the street, and if you have enough cash on you and the guy's not going to mug you for it and kick your ass and take off with it, you can buy a gun easy. And that's, I'm going to say that's in any city.
Day. We were talking about the fact that in the US, you can go and buy a fucking tank with armaments.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fucked up. That is incredibly fucked up.
Oh, well, you know what's worse than that? You can go online. Right now, you can go online and buy all the pieces for a gun, and it'll be shipped to you in 2 or 3 days. And all you have to do is put it together.
So I'm not telling anybody that anything they don't know.
For guns.
No, I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know, but it's called the Archangel Kit. Defend yourself.
Yeah. It's true.
Look it up. I'm not telling anybody anything anyone doesn't know.
And all these Republicans say, well, they're going to take our guns. First of all, they're not going to take your guns.
Nope.
They took your guns.
That's never going to happen. There's never going to be a situation in the politics, in the House and Senate and Congress and all that shit. Whoever decides that, I don't fucking know. I don't know that much about politics. But there's never going to be a time where everybody's going to say that's okay. That's never going to happen. So everybody needs to quit freaking out about that. Second of all, the biggest problem we have with guns is that because of the black market and because it's so easy to build your own guns and because it's all this is way too easy, that if we took everybody's guns away, it would literally be only the bad people would have guns. You'd have a handful of good people that kept one on the sly because they want to cover their own ass.
Or that episode
all the bad people would have guns.
Or the problem is what's your definition of bad people? Because the government would be the ones having the guns.
There's more than one kind of bad people.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but it would be
murderers,
like
thieves, and the government. That's the bad people.
So all the sociopaths would still have their guns.
Yes, that's what would happen.
That's the problem.
And you got to think about there's those cults that live out there in the woods, and they are fully fucking armed, but the government doesn't know where they are. They're not going to get their guns away from them.
Oh yeah,
they're not going to go into the hood and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Crip and Mr. Blood, we need your guns." They'll fucking kill them. That's never going to happen.
I said the other day, the first time I ever saw an AK-47, it was in the hood from this old gangster guy I knew.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's fueled by a lot of shit.
This is what I was telling Jen last night, that in a place like Chicago, okay, I grew up as a connoisseur of guns. Like, I literally grew up in a house with American riflemen in the bathroom. And I would look, so I know how much guns cost in general. If you watch any footage from Chicago, okay, B, you will see some kid wave a $3,200 gun around, but doesn't have food, money for food. Or some guy will pull out a $2,000 handgun. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff that the average person wouldn't be able to afford in a million years. The black market is real. It's out there and it's thriving.
Oh, it's absolutely thriving. You can get all kinds of shit. You can get wives, and I mean, I'm not promoting the black market. Please don't anybody think that. But I mean, you can literally buy anything on the black market. If you have enough money, you can get anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need is money.
Especially, well, see, that's the thing in America. Quite literally, you can get anything you want if you have enough money.
Yeah.
That's absolutely all it is. That's all it comes down to.
You have enough money that the black market people will fucking hand deliver that shit to your door and show you how to load it.
And how to hide it.
And how to hide it. And how there's no serial numbers on it.
I always wonder about that, because I bought 2 trucks from this place across the street from my job, and it's this couple, and they're not shady, but they buy like lemon cars and try to fix them up. But they'll tell you to your face, like, okay, this doesn't run right, But yeah. I always wonder in what circumstance do they get all these vehicles, because they have a lot that sits on like 2 or 3 acres, and it's only two people that own the business.
Mm-hmm. Chop shop, baby. You
and
can do that all day, get away with it. People do it
because the property.
You can get that on the black market.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I've got to ask: is the term black market, is that got a racist origin?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely does.
Yeah, it's selling black.
Why
people.
hasn't anybody renamed that, by the way, Will? That's your job today.
We still have Black Friday. Oh, fuck. If I was king, all kinds of stuff would change. You don't want to give me that. You don't want to give me that.
I think we should call it the underground market. The back alley market. Or the underground market.
No, there's a back alley market in LA. You can buy a double-sided dildo that's like this big. You could use as a wand to hit people.
What's the point? That's just bragging. Nobody could really use. Oh, it's a COVID dildo. Look, we can stay 6 feet apart and fuck each other. That's what it is.
Yeah. The gray market. Kata says the gray market. I just picture a bunch of wizards walking around.
Well, Harry Potter. Yeah, that's true, Cadence. Questionably legal is definitely a thing in the United States.
Do you know, if you want to talk about history, I'm gonna whine for a second. It's not
wait, let me grab my cheese. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
It's not who did Will piss off this week. It's history. History happened yesterday, and I didn't 420 all day because I was too busy being I was too busy actually participating in history and being in the present. So I'm gonna smoke this in remembrance of 420. I'm gonna smoke this in remembrance of 420 yesterday. Because I participated, but I participated by myself. I listened to some. No, it's okay because you know what? History is more important than my petty ass holiday where I just smoke pot all day and talk trash, which is no different than any other day, besides the fact that the rest of the world is doing it. So here's the 420, even on 421.
It's a 420 plus 1.
Smoke it if you got it. This is like Thanksgiving the day after.
Oh, too funny.
Awesomeness.
Too funny.
I don't know, but Tons of Mice put out an amazing picture on Twitter
of.
I'll send it to you.
Hi, Santi. How are you?
What's up? I'm good.
What's up, Danny?
How we doing? How was 420 for everybody? Hi, Jen.
Hi.
That was yesterday. What happened yesterday? Oh, I worked, and then as soon as I got home, I
celebrated.
Anyways,
Let's see if it's on.
Oh goodness, they were doing that on Andy's stream earlier. The Google mods were kicking off. They were just putting links in for Andy's stuff on Laughing in Disbelief, and it was kicking it out. So I don't know what's up with that. Somebody hit the sensitivity button, I guess. Snowflake button.
Jen's beautiful corner. I have a question for you. Can you make a thumbnail like that? It won't get taken off.
I just sent you. Can we have that?
Can you do that?
See why not?
Hey, try it.
I made that.
Try. I know it's beautiful. I love it.
Show me.
I just don't want it. I don't want it to get taken down the second that you post it. No, because our culture's.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
I'm a dinosaur. I sent you a picture too. I'm a dinosaur, and our culture has changed. So this
is for the next What the Fuck show. If you're wondering, Dave.
I respect you and your channel. I'm just wondering if it's Yeah, and you know what, Maya, they are really on the comments. I'm a mod in Sam Chaos's channel, and it's constantly asking me to approve people's comments. I don't even look. I'm just like approve. They're really cracking down on what people say and do on YouTube.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they really are. And when you upload a video, it now has a double check. So now after all the checking, it says checking. They literally added another check on everything else.
Nice.
So
I like it.
Good or bad?
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah, exactly. Maya, serious. YouTube is not playing right now. They're hammering everything. It's really weird. Not just because I'm smoking a J and spitting out conspiracy theories.
You reckon it's the thought that was happening to you?
It's true, man. It's true.
It's not related.
I think the font for that makes it.
I mean, if they're watching, it's a bit late now. Like,
well, let's get.
We're already out here.
This is the. Let's share it and we'll get feedback from these audience. Should I use this as the thumbnail for Thursday night's What the Fuck show?
You should.
By
the way, that is who Will pissed off this week. Yes, Maya. That's exactly what YouTube be like.
Oh,
hammer.
There we go.
That is some good stuff. It turned my eyes Christmas tree red.
So that's the proposed thumbnail for Thursday night's What the Fuck show, which will be about police brutality.
Serve and protect, not protect and serve, folks.
Serve and protect, yes.
The only reason I asked that is because YouTube has been such weenies lately. I don't even know what's going on.
The worst case scenario is they make me put up a different thumbnail, in which case I'd get rid of the blood font. It's the only reason why they'd hate that.
Well, you could make it dark brown blood.
I could.
Because blood is only red for a while, because it does...
It goes almost black.
Are you... Damn.
Whoa.
She did not like that question.
I was about to ask a crazy question too.
I was trying to get rid of the other thing, the share screen, and I kicked Jen because I suck.
Oh.
Come back,
baby.
I don't know why I kicked it and it kicked her with it. I've never had that happen before.
That's why I don't touch buttons.
Oh, Will.
No, normally it works fine. I'm sorry. I was trying to get rid of your share screen and
it's all right. It was bad timing. We both did it at the same time, B.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it was. I was dropping it out as you got rid of it. So I've done it before too. It's fine.
Isn't Vulcan?
You never kick a lady out of the room. You ask her to nicely leave.
Yeah.
And then tell her to calm down, and then that'll make her leave.
All right. Well, I think universally we will go with that. They won't take down the stream for it. All they do is they take down the thumbnail.
It's true.
Yeah.
Never.
So
Jen's been there before.
Yeah. No, here's the dumb thing. I've lost 2 thumbnails. Now, one of them was just a photo I found online that was from a free site. So I should have been allowed to use it, but I didn't argue with it. I just built a new one. The other one was a thumbnail from a photo I took myself that I done entirely myself, and they told me I couldn't have it.
Why?
I have no idea, but it's not.
It was just a picture of you.
No, it wasn't a picture of me. It was a photo I'd taken somewhere.
No, that's good to know because I use a lot. Like in this computer, there's hundreds of thousands of pictures, and I use really random pictures that I've taken, and they haven't called me out yet on a thumbnail.
Hi, Rex.
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Hey,
How are
Rex.
y'all today?
Good. I'm a little
fucking good,
awesome.
actually.
I'm a little exhausted. I don't know if I might not last that long today.
Yeah, well, I've got to go and fix a wall. Okay, B. I bought a whole heap of 3mm plywood with the plan of putting it around the chimney frame to cover that part of it up.
Okay.
And what I've discovered is where the framing is on the wall is not going to be in a good enough spot where I can actually attach the plywood, and it's not going to flop around in the breeze. I should have bought larger plywood.
Around your chimney?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
There's
just the
not
other
just a
part of
board
it.
in there?
Yeah, there's a brick chimney, but it's surrounded by
Plaster.
plasterboard. Yeah. So they've got a smaller chimney inside a plaster in case. And I guess the beautiful thing to do would be to take all the stupid plaster off and redo the wall, but I'm not doing that. I am not doing that project.
I have to redo my sink.
Taking the plaster off is just knocking the plaster down is the easy part.
Yeah, I'm
Cleaning each
thinking
brick is
that's
the
what
hard
I'm going to
part.
have to do. I think I'm going to have to. I think what I'm actually going to have to do is cut out the chunks of plaster that are knackered and just build a new frame to attach new plaster to. It's going to be easier than coating on the outside.
Okay.
But the boards in the roof go the other way to the beams in the roof go the opposite way to the way I thought they did because of the way the battens are actually in the opposite direction to where the beams go. So it's really weird. It wasn't until I got up on the ladder and had a look and I go, hey, there's nails that way. But the joining things go that way. This makes no sense.
Really?
Yeah, so I think
You'll have to take some up close pictures for me. I'll see if I can.
Well, I know it actually works out good the way it is because the bit that's thing comes up to where the piece of wood is. So if I cut out the section of plaster in the ceiling, all I have to do is build a frame within that, and I can just plonk up a new bit of plaster and just join it together. So it actually works out better the way around it is, but it does mean knocking out a chunk of plaster.
It happens.
Okay.
It'll
be
messy,
better, but it's also
hard.
good that because now I've climbed up and had a look, I can see that every bit of plaster is nailed up. So any sections that are funky because of water damage just means cutting out those sections and putting new bits up. It probably doesn't need a whole new roof put up underneath because it's all nailed. It is not it's not lapped over the top of the boards. It's nailed up.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to go along and put some new screws in randomly.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking a couple of screws in because it's nailed because it's that old rather than screwed. But I need to get the proper screws because it's the horsehair style plaster, not modern fibro. You know, the paper plaster. What is it called? What's modern plasterboard?
Drywall?
It's called drywall or plasterboard. Yes, sorry. It's not modern drywall. It's horsehair style plaster. I think this is coconut fibers in this one because I can actually feel the fibers and it feels like coconut fiber.
So if I was there, I would just do it myself and have everybody watch me.
I said I was going to do that. I need to set up a camera and film me actually trying to cut this stupid thing out of the review.
Hey, Van,
it'll be lots of me swearing.
I'm trying to work on that. Trust me.
Oh, I like that, Vanta.
Because I grew up fixing things, and hillbilly engineering is my middle name, so I just do it myself.
I would like to add to that, Vanta. If you do screw randomly, make sure you use protection.
Always. Oh,
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. I always make sure I have my glasses on when I'm using a drill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard hat's not a bad idea either if you're working on the ceiling.
Oh,
I
fuck
was.
that. Nah,
And
I'm
a
good.
mask if it's an old ceiling, because the crap that falls down from above it is not worth breathing in.
You know, after you fall one time from, okay, so my feet were 16 feet off the ground because I had a 16-foot ladder fully extended and I was standing on the top. And the feet were on a roof that with brand new roofing tiles that were really gritty still. And the feet just went whoop, that way, and I went that way. And so I've fallen from 20 feet up and landed on my back, and that's how I lost my kidney, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not very scared of falling up to like 20-ish feet. It doesn't really bother me. The only problem I have is I have vertigo.
Yeah, and
so I've been standing on top of a tractor trailer before and looked over the edge and almost fell off.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there.
She was having a Morpheus fight on top of the trailer with an agent.
Something like that, dude. Like your head just spins and you're like, I just need to sit down. Which way's down? And not down.
Yeah.
This way.
I witnessed at the job somebody who doesn't work there anymore, didn't know what they're doing. They're trying to show off. We were moving industrial bleach. Willbilly is amazing, by the way. And they dropped industrial bleach in the open air on concrete. I almost passed out, but somebody had the frame of mind to grab me because industrial bleach is so strong, concentrated. You would pass out.
Oh yeah,
on contact, and it was open air, and you could see the gas and everything.
Hi, Randy. Whenever you get here.
Whoa,
there he is.
He's beaming
Everyone,
in.
Please go to the GoFundMe page for Randy so we can get a better internet.
If anyone's wondering why I'm giggling to myself, it's just because I sent a message to B that was meant for Will.
Yeah, I don't need money for internet. What I need is hair.
Will your hair?
Beam, but it wasn't.
I have so many questions for Randy now. Does your hair have 5G?
It will be as soon as I get it. Bill Gates.
It did. That's why it all fell out.
Because if that's true, I want some too. I want to have a big giant fro. I miss my hair.
Is that what's happening to my back teeth? Or is it because I'm 51?
Oh, it was just that.
It was just that, babe. Sorry.
I took myself off camera. I was ready to see some good shit. Anyway, so we were discussing guns and shit. I think that's when Rex wanted to come. Is that correct, Rex? Did you have something to say?
Oh, I just popped in. I mean, I've got a one-shot shotgun, and if I can't take you out with that one shot, then I deserve whatever I'm going to get.
My dad used to say that all the time. My dad it's true. It's true. That's why I live by that one-shot, one-kill thing. Like, if you can't... Especially here in the state of California.
Don't miss.
Yeah, damn right. Mm-hmm. That's why and I'm going to say something... I kind of look at shooting somebody with a knife as kind of a weenie thing to do. But I've been stabbed before, and you can take somebody with a knife. I've been stabbed before. I think shooting somebody, I don't know. Maybe I'm just hard-headed in that way, hard-boned. I don't know. You could kill someone instantly with a gun. It takes a few times. You have to really know what you're doing to kill someone instantly with a knife, and you're not going to get that close when you're yelling and doing the psycho.
When you're raging, you don't think.
No, not at all.
I'm going to show you something.
Still, you shouldn't run around with a knife anyway.
There you go, you guys. Urban Dictionary definition of willbilly. Term used to refer to any person not from the country who tries to act as though they are. In short, a wannabe hillbilly. For instance, Kevin. Man, did you just see that guy? Dave, you must be talking about the dude with the Italian loafers and the overalls. Kevin, yep, he's such a willbilly.
To be fair, they were probably awesome Italian shoes. To be fair,
Probably metrosexual too, because who else wears Italian loafers? I'm just saying.
And the overalls probably look brand new, like never been worn out to do anything. Yeah. Because I have a pair of overalls that are all fucked up, but I still wear them.
Do you know what? I had a pair that were just gross, and I patched them. I made old school hobo patches.
Cadence.
Oh,
that's great.
Anyway. Not true. I used to train SF. Actually.
Oh yeah, my overalls. I've had to patch the knees twice on it. So, yeah.
That's like my. I have my
goddamn.
This is my unit knife. Blade.
That's a killing knife.
I was in the Reaper division. There's only one purpose for this.
Death.
And it's sitting in the cupboard for now. That's the purpose.
Can you peel potatoes with it?
Oh no, I got other knives for that. Actually, I got people for that. I'm just a regular guy. My people put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you.
I know, seriously, I have so many knives. Jen has actually seen like a quarter of them. I have so many knives that I could get this stream demonetized.
I mean, do you mean literally knives, or is that a euphemism?
Oh no, I'm armed in every way. In every way.
You know, when I was a truck driver, because you're not allowed to have guns in trucks, and you're really not supposed to have a blade that's over 5 inches, or like the width of your hand, whatever. So I had a Gerber knife that was a teardrop, and every time I was in a bad area, I'd put that on my belt because shit happens, man.
So I mean, you
may shoot me, but I'm gonna fucking stab your ass before I go if I can.
I have
Trucking's a question. Dangerous.
Can you flash a knife on YouTube?
I don't think so.
I mean, people show guns on YouTube. Well, I don't know if there's a difference there.
So I have a question. Can you flash a gun on YouTube? Because this is a rigging knife. I'm not going to flash guns because I live in California.
Well, you've already done that. You've already showed us your revolver.
Yeah, but it wasn't live.
No, that's a Confederate Colt. My Confederate Colt, that's black powder.
I'm sorry, it's black powder. My bad.
Oh yeah, I can wave that. I can wave that thing around all day long. They're legal, even though people fought wars with those. We all forget that people fought wars with those. So if I really was pissed, I could put a hole through somebody.
With black powder. Legal.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Look at Ox. I've got 37 fixed blades, 24 folders, 7 swords, a shotgun, and a 357 revolver, plus many booby traps ready to deploy when needed.
That's what I'm saying.
Who are you after, Og?
No, but listen, like just sitting here, this is in my desk. Like if somebody came running up, I feel sorry for him. This is just sitting at my desk. Ooh, this one's cool though. This one is my favorite. This one is my. So this one's my favorite. You see?
Boobies for years.
It's a Swiss Army
camping knife. Yeah.
I love this. I take it with me camping always. It's one of those stupid novelties, but I'll pull it out.
I used to have one like that as a Boy Scout knife.
Oh, I have actual Boy Scout knife.
Same thing, and they are so awesome. So
wait a minute. I have to say this is the first time in B history that we have a unicorn on the panel.
I'm glad you like
Hello, Maddie. How are you?
I'm so good. How are y'all?
Awesome. Great. We were discussing like guns, and weapons, and stuff.
Okay, I was just.
How are you? What?
I have a person who keeps replying the same block of text claiming it disproves global warming in my comment section, and then he emailed it to me. So I just did a live stream finally addressing it, and I thought I would dress appropriately.
the unicorn in the room.
Oh, people!
Hang on. I need a beer.
So I see you're a little horny today.
Maddie,
I mean, global warming was bound to happen eventually, not only with what we're doing to our environment, but the fact that the Earth goes through cycles, folks.
Yeah.
That shit happens.
It does.
Mhm.
They're called Milankovitch cycles.
It is a real
That's
thing.
the orbital ones. Those are
A
real.
Milankovitch cycle. Yeah, that's what I knew. Did I say that right?
That's why we have a
no idea.
periodic ice ages. We have ice ages about every 100,000 years.
See, exactly.
Technically, we should be in one now.
Mhm.
So if we actually went, well, we're coming out of a glacial age, aren't we? So
We're technically
but
in
we
an
should-
ice age because we have permanent ice sheets. That's like the formal definition of what an ice age is. But yeah, so like we
Who
should
decided
be in
that?
probably geologists.
I'm taking notes. I'm just taking notes right now.
Yeah, so technically we're considered to be in a glacial period at the moment. So it's a good thing we're not in an in-between glacial period. Interglacial, that's correct. Yeah, because we'd be really fucked with global warming then. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's certainly like other decadal cycles, right? So natural climate change is a real thing. Natural climate change doesn't act this fast.
Because it's not just the changes in Earth's orbit around the sun that it affected it. Also, the wobble of our axes affects it. So there's the periodicity of the sun changes over time as well. So those things all combine to change our weather patterns.
Exactly.
But they don't change the weather patterns on the planet as fast as we have through global warming.
Wait. Woohoo! Sorry. Decided I'm just going to do that randomly.
Yay.
I'm sorry. I'm excited, dude. You guys have no idea. I've been so miserable. I really hope this is awesome.
Congrats.
No, it is awesome. It's good to see you happy.
Absolutely.
So
another reason why I don't dance in
Thank
public.
you for bringing this into science, Maddie. I love
yeah,
that.
you're welcome. So, Jen, you
know.
absolutely described those three processes correctly. So you absolutely got it. The name is it's the obliquity, eccentricity, and precession.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are words I carry around in my head for no good reason.
The eccentricity is the change of our orbit.
Eccentricity, eccentricity is how circular versus elliptical our orbit is. Yeah. It's very circular right now.
Yes, it is.
And then obliquity is how tilted our axis is. And then precession is our axis goes like this. It's the wall.
Yes.
Our axis of rotation goes like that. And the precession
then, of course, you
has
have the changes in the sun over time. You also have our changes within the galaxy as well, because that also affects us in ways that we don't properly understand at the moment, because our movements in and out of the spiral arms actually affects how much external non-solar radiation we get. So radiation from other sources.
Yeah, I bet that would affect Pluto.
Well, not just that, but displacement of mass.
There's still an effect within our solar system, because the more densely populated areas of the solar system we're in, the more gamma ray bursts and things like that actually affect our atmosphere, and that changes the composition of our atmosphere in form of ozone and things like that, which actually changes our atmosphere, which actually changes our temperatures as well. Yeah. So depending on where we are in the solar system, what spiral arm or gap between solar arms, spiral arms we're in, actually changes the weather of the planet as well. So if we're in, at the moment, we talk about ourselves being in and out of spiral arm, but we're just off the edge of the spiral arm. We're a little bit further away from the densest part of where there are a lot of other stars. So whilst we say, there's quite a few stars within 200 light years of us, that's a fucking big area.
Yeah. So
you could be in a lot denser area of space than that for localized stars. And that changes the amount of radiation, that extrasolar radiation that comes in.
By the way, for Ox's question, do you mean the magnetic pole? And then I think Randy has his hand up.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
Magnetic pole.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So what did you call it? The radiation. Gamma radiation.
Yeah.
That's like the strongest thing that we have detected so far in the universe as far as radiation, right?
Yeah, so gamma radiation just refers to any electromagnetic radiation that has an energy greater than the X-ray range. So if it's stronger than an X-ray, we call it gamma.
Yeah, basically, it's a huge gamut of radiation.
Very tight frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not just for Bill Bixby. Oh, I got it.
No, it doesn't make you. It don't make you the Hulk.
No, quite frankly, if you got hit by gamma radiations like the Hulk, turning into a green monster isn't the biggest thing you have to worry about. With the amount of radiation you got hit by, turning into a puddle on the floor is probably the thing you'd have to worry about.
I was going to say a green blob of goo, baby.
Yeah, from what I remember, gamma radiation could go through 5 miles of solid lead and not even slow it down.
No, that's not true.
It depends. It would depend on the energy level. I mean, if you were next to a pulsar, if you were right next to a pulsar pushing out gamma rays at the source, you might struggle with a huge amount of lead between you and them to actually stop any of it. But you'd have to be pretty close, and it'd have to be a very powerful source. So.
The 10th thickness for gamma radiation.
I apologize. I cannot remember my childhood physics.
The 10th thickness, which means for gamma radiation and lead, so is 4 inches. So that means anytime gamma radiation passes through 4 inches of lead, its power is decreased by a factor of 10. So if you start at a factor of 1,000,000, right, you need lots of 10th thicknesses. But yeah,
it depends entirely on how strong the gamma rays are. Basically, so if you're near a strong gamma ray source like a black hole or a pulsar or something like that, then you're fairly fucked. But it
works kind of like
at the distance we are from, our atmosphere stops all the gamma radiation basically, unless it comes from space.
Ozone is really good at absorbing it, and our sun doesn't.
It works kind of like light going through fathoms of water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so Maddie knows. I don't know how much you've talked to Randy, but he's on a delay. So he's not being rude. I was
trying to say
he's
that.
like 5 seconds behind us or something like that. So if he seems like he's interrupting,
I apologize.
He's not trying to. Yeah. You don't have to apologize.
He constantly lives
you
in the
apologize
past.
all the time.
I think Harmonica Man's in a vortex.
Let me answer Ox's question real fast, if y'all don't mind.
I am.
Magnetic pole shifts are so cool.
I might.
Magnetic pole shifts are so cool. So, yes, our Earth's magnetic field any day now is gonna shut off and then reappear upside down. And by any day now, I mean it could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 1,000 years. But any day now,
because we don't actually know because we've never been here for one happening.
Right.
But we know that these happen because if you go to the ocean floor, which is basaltic material, which is heavy in iron, and the ocean floor recycles itself every 200 million years, right? So there's this long period. And so you have these bands where when it solidifies, the iron lines itself along the Earth's magnetic field. So you have a north pointing band, then a south pointing band, then a north pointing band, then a south pointing band, all across the ocean floor, which is super, super cool. But whenever that happens, it's going to be a problem for all radio communication. It's going to turn off until the magnetic field comes back.
That means everything, guys.
Yeah, it means everything.
Well, it's actually worse than that because we also lose our Earth's magnetics field protection.
Yeah.
It's magnetic field protection from solar radiation.
That's not going to be enough to kill all humans, but you'll definitely see a
you wouldn't want to be
incidence
outside for prolonged periods of time during it, though.
But I mean, when it turns off, it's going to be off for hundreds of years. So we're sort of SOL on that, right?
Yeah.
But so you'll definitely see a higher rate of cancer.
You will. You will also see more mass extinctions,
happen,
although we might not notice that in amongst the mass extinctions we cause. So
anyway,
go ahead, Randy. What were you saying?
Oh, nothing. I was just saying if that happens, and everybody starts dying off because of that, we're just going to have to start breeding harder.
We're going to have to start breeding harder. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not going straight for that cause. I think there's enough straight women out there to handle that for me.
Did you say, Maddie, that all radio communications would be stopped by it ending? Okay, I've got a question. Why you think that's the case when we use our own electronics to create those radio waves? It's not powered by the Earth at all, and radio waves progress through space perfectly fine without having a planet there with a magnetic field.
So the problem comes if you want to talk to China, right? How do I get a radio signal from here to the other side of the Earth, right? I've got to bounce it up and over, and I can't.
Oh, okay, yes. You won't have an ionosphere to bounce radio messages over. So if you wanted to do shortwave, that's not going to work. But we have satellites.
Yeah, wait a minute. I thought the Earth was flat.
We have satellites and we have undersea cables.
Guys, I just had a flat Earth thing show up in my chat. I don't want to deal with flat Earth shenanigans.
I was about to say, you start talking about the flat Earth, Rex, I'm out of here.
Okay, I have one thing to say about this, Ox.
Well,
I could be a midwife, or I could keep all the women happy when the men aren't having sex with them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my shit right there. And then I could just hop around and take care of that shit, and then they'll let men have sex with them because they'll still be having orgasms. I think that could be a thing.
Being a fluffer sounds like a good job.
No. It's not what I said. So keep the women happy and the men aren't around. That's what I said.
Okay.
Being
not going to fluff
need born involved for it to be a fluffer.
Not interested in that.
It's the whole.
Can we go back to science?
Straight to the gutter. Sorry.
You mean the fluffer for the women? Oh yeah, I do that shit. That's my job.
I'll go back to participating on 420 2.0.
Anyways, go ahead, guys. I was just there's some comic relief in
okay. Ox read that satellites would fail also. So, the problem that the satellites will have when the Earth's magnetic field flips is the same problem we have on Earth. For 100 years, probably, Earth has no magnetic field protecting anything. So unless we have satellites up there that are heavily radiation protected, yes, they will fail because the sun's solar radiation will eventually destroy them.
Yeah,
at the moment, they're actually protected by Earth's magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
I think I hate. It's going to be unlike a EM pulse. I think it's going to be a little bit different than just knocking things out because of solar winds and things. Because even if it's only 200 million years or whatever in geologic times, that's pretty short. Now we have maintained, but the Earth has maintained atmosphere, different animals, all kinds of stuff because we still kept this magnetosphere around us. Protecting the Earth. Just because the poles are changing doesn't mean it totally knocks out the magnetivity of the Earth.
So I have a quick question.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be any life here at all.
Okay, Randy. The Earth's magnetic field is caused by the dynamo that operates in the center of the Earth. The flipping of the Earth's magnetic field happens because of changes in the dynamics of that dynamo. So basically the flipping of the field is the dynamo changing the way it's moving such that it's not creating a magnetic field. So the Earth loses a magnetic field and then it starts up again, but basically in the opposite direction. So it's like the dynamo is shifted direction. We don't know exactly how that works because we can't see right into the center of the Earth. We've got rough ideas of how the center of the Earth works from doing fracking, actually.
So
literally fracking, blowing up explosives and watching sonar responses.
How much would we digress? How much would we digress as a species without the ionosphere? So how far back would we go? We talking about 100 years, 200 years?
We shouldn't.
Non-existent.
No. So the magnetic field flips every 2 million years, right? Yeah. Humans have been around for one of these, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be the biggest thing it's going to disrupt is communications. And
there'll be more cancers, and there'll probably be a lot of people who die during it from cancer. But
right.
It shouldn't be a huge issue for us as long as we get our act together. I mean, we've got lots of other communications capabilities. The biggest problem for us wouldn't be actually the flip. if we had a Carrington level event at the same time as the Earth's magnetic field is off, we are fucked.
Yeah,
basically.
toast. We would be toast.
We would be toast. That would be it. That would be. We would go back to the Dark Ages sort of thing because we would lose all our technology at that point.
And the power grids would go out. And
the power grids would go out. You would be absolutely naffed with a Carrington level event. We wouldn't cope well with a Carrington level event with our ionosphere. Without it, you're pretty knackered.
Oh, that's cool. I can crown myself king. I have nothing but bullets and water.
And cows. You've got
You're having fun there, B, swapping everyone around.
Well, I hate that thing over my face. And so I just always put somebody with an icon over there. And then I wanted to move Will over by you because I'm nice. And then I felt like Maddie should be at the bottom because she's way too intelligent. And then Rex, I just figured he's icon, so I'd throw him to the bottom. I told you I'm ADD.
That's fair enough. That's fair.
There's no doubt about it right now.
You know me, B.
So I have a question for Maddie. What natural event could happen that would destroy the power grid?
Oh,
that's Carrington. Yeah.
How many, I should say, that would bring us back to where our ancestors were like 200 years ago.
A direct hit from a solar flare.
Yeah. Solar flare or super volcano.
Roseanne Barr sitting on a PA system.
Or large impact event.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
I have a question about a solar flare. What if?
Well, that's my brother's theory.
What if we're on the side? What if we're on the side of the planet that doesn't get? What if we're on the side of the planet that's on the dark side at the time
of the solar flare?
Yeah, because the Earth's round.
It'd still blow up all the electronics. Highly energized particles from the sun as they hit our atmosphere is what creates the electrical surges in electrical equipment, and it wouldn't matter which side. If you were on the opposite side of the planet or not, you'd still have the surge in power in our electrical equipment.
So you're aft.
So you're screwed. If the Carrington event, which is the largest solar flare that's happened, that hit the Earth, not the largest solar flare that there's been, but the largest one that's hit the Earth in recorded history, took out telegraph communications because it's the most we had around the world. It wasn't just centralized to the side of the planet that got hit.
Something like that.
It was the 1800s. Yeah.
Oh, the late 1800s. Okay.
Well, in 1994, when the Northridge earthquake hit, in the middle of the earthquake, or might have been at the end of it, on the other side of town, there was a power station that exploded. And the explosion was so powerful that for a brief second, the sky was blue.
Wow.
And it busted us back to the dark ages because our power grid was out for a while because it was what fed this side of town.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That's when the multi-level highways or whatever collapsed on top of each other. And if you weren't on the top level, you were squished.
So where I live, you just have to get on the freeway, and a neighbor who sadly has become a crazy cat lady who's a real life hoarder. She's gotten help and she still hoards. But anyways, I have pictures that she took of me standing on the edge of that ridge on the north side because I live on the north side where the freeway fell.
Wow.
Talking about solar flares like the Carrington event, there was a solar flare. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maddie. It was about 2 years ago that the Solar Observatory picked up. That was about 4 times as powerful as the Carrington event. If that had actually been headed towards Earth, there is nothing we could have done about it. We would have lost electricity probably for a good year on large parts of the planet.
Scientific American did an article about that. How effed we were. They were like, "This is how effed we would have been."
Yeah. All I want to say is, I live in a steel and aluminum cage, effectively.
Cooked.
And I have a solar generator inside my living space in case it ever needs to be used.
Everything.
If you design your electronics correctly, you can build around the problem. The problem is our electrical grids themselves, to a large extent. They haven't been designed to cope with these large surges. You can build breakers into the electrical system that would stop the surges getting absolutely everywhere. You'd still have massive amounts of damage and heaps of stuff to repair and fix.
Well,
but you could limit the amount of damage. And it could be done in homes as well. But none of us do it because it's never happened in our lifetimes. So we don't worry about it.
Don't want to spend the money on it.
If the arch nemesis of the electrical grid is branches, something's wrong.
Oh yeah, tree fall. Yeah,
yeah.
Here in California, we have this.
Hey, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, is anybody familiar with like pound and iron and blacksmithing and things like that?
Oh yeah,
in the magnetic.
I've watched lots of it.
I'm aware that it exists.
Okay, now
same here.
Now
I know more than I should for my Dungeons and Dragons.
Now everybody knows when it's ready, when the iron is ready to pound, you put a magnet on there, and as soon as it's hot enough, it loses its magnetivity, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you can tell when to take it off the flame and start pounding the piss out of it. Okay, now everybody seems to think that the Earth is mostly iron inside near the core. So how does that work if it's non-magnetic? I think there's more denser metals than that are magnetic. That's in play.
You're misunderstanding how the Earth's magnetic field works there, Randy.
I'm so glad you said that and not Hollow Earth.
Okay,
if you said Hollow Earth, I was out of here.
I would have kicked him.
You're misunderstanding how the Earth's magnetic field works, but I'll let Maddie explain.
Sorry.
Okay, please educate me. I want to know.
Yeah, so we know that the Earth's core is iron and nickel, right? And then we have we have a liquid outer core and a solid inner core. We know it's iron and nickel because of the way that earthquakes, seismic waves pass through it, right? So you can measure that because if an earthquake happens in California, you can measure the signal on the other side of the world. How long it takes for that signal to get there tells you a lot about the interior structure of the Earth, right? So we know a lot about the interior structure of the Earth. The magnetic field is generated because we have that liquid iron is convecting. It's moving, right?
Yeah, the Earth's spinning.
How do you make a generator?
Oh.
Right. Yeah, and we're spinning, right? So how do you make a generator?
Oh, so it's directional.
You take a magnet and you spin.
Yeah. So as the molten metal spins within the center of the Earth, it creates a dynamo. Which is what creates the magnetic field. It's not because you've got this big mass of magnetic metal that the Earth has a magnetic field. It's because we have a molten core that's conductive that we have a magnetic field. The Earth is basically a big electromagnet.
Perfect sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah, and see that's
Maddie,
why.
Maddie, have you ever heard of suspicious observers?
No. Should I have?
They do. I put the link in the chat. So every morning they do a little video and talk about. They focus a lot on the sun, and they talk about any kind of like activity they've seen. They do it every morning. And sometimes they put stuff out in the afternoon, and they're actually creating a ranch somewhere like in, I don't know, Oklahoma or Nebraska or something. And it's going to be all for learning about our solar system and the Earth and stuff. Cool. So it's actually pretty cool.
That was here in Oklahoma.
I can't remember where it was, but they have stuff online about it too. Like you can go to their website, which is on their YouTube page, and read more about it. But it's really interesting, and I just thought, between you and Jen being so science-minded, you might be interested in that.
So on a total
I should shut up and let Maddie talk.
Maddie, on a total side note, before you get too sciencey, I've probably told you this already. Did you know that SG-1 is on Netflix?
I don't remember where I last binge watched the entire series. Not that I own all the DVDs anyway.
I do as well. I do.
We need a Stargate stream.
It's on Prime, isn't it? I think I watched it on Prime last time.
So it's on Netflix right now, and I had no idea. I was on a stream like a couple Saturdays ago, and I'm like, oh, I'll see you later. I'm not going to talk to any of you. And it's just, I know that you love the show.
I love
I
it
do. So I just have to tell you, it's on Netflix, and I've been binge watching it, and it's actually kept me away from all the YouTube drama, all the Twitter drama. I've been ignoring everybody and watching SG1.
Yes, Vanta. Antron Petrov, he does really good videos, and he has good
follow him.
graphics, and he explains
Anton's
stuff
awesome.
well. Yeah, he's actually, I used to watch him before I watched the Suspicious Observers, because I don't know, they're just aimed more in my direction, I guess. But no, he's brilliant. He's great. He's very good for us laymen who don't know what the hell's going on.
Who else?
He
is
has much
good?
better production value than I do. I try to keep all my stuff. It's just like me and a chalkboard, because when I do
you're
science.
awesome.
But like my goal for that is like, sometimes I think people get really intimidated when it comes to science. So like sometimes I think that like, okay, it's just me and my unicorn hoodie talking to you guys and drawing poorly, right? It's not that intimidating.
And getting excited. I love the fact that when you get groups of us together who are into science and we talk about, we are actually excited about it. It is exciting.
I love science. I don't know shit about it, but I love to learn new stuff. Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
Isn't it great?
Like, I wish that's such a great attitude. I wish more people had that, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff I don't know anything about, right? But like, if you're an expert in it, I would love to learn, right? And I'm not an expert in other things because I've spent my whole adult life doing science, right? So I'm good at a really narrow thing.
I always say, Maddie, the best part about when I sit down and I talk with people about science is if somebody says to me, "You're wrong, Jen. This is why you're wrong. Here's the real thing." I'm fucking elated by that because I have learned something. If I learn something, if I'm shown I'm wrong about something and I can learn something new, that is freaking awesome. If just learning something new is awesome, see, yeah.
And because Jen has class, she gets a little mad, but she waits till after the stream and goes, "Fuck! Can't believe I was wrong about that."
I get
and
mad
then she
at
absorbs
me.
the stream. Right.
Yeah.
I get mad at me for being wrong.
No, but you've taught me.
Right, I do that.
You've taught me all kinds of interesting words like cockwomble and all kinds of interesting stuff. Every time you curse, I'm like, okay, write that one down. Write that one.
That was a good one.
I do get pissed off when people misrepresent science. That annoys me when they willfully do it. They're like flat earthers and people like that, where they must know that they're lying to people. They have to know.
I don't even know.
It pisses me off.
I just don't know how they could even think that.
Yeah, because
what we live on wouldn't fit on a flat Earth this size anyway.
People off who are dumb.
Yeah, but Maddie had a was that a debate with King Dummy? I'm being nice, flat earther.
Nathan Thompson.
Yeah.
Oh, why would you debate him? He's an arrogant prick.
No, you taught him science. Is what you did. You taught him science.
At one point, he just yelled the periodic table at me. It was a little strange. And then I went on Fight the Flat Earth's channel to review the debate, which was super fun. Craig is a lovely guy. And I wore my unicorn hoodie to like take it as serious as it deserved. And then that's what Nathan decided to jump on. Like, look, she claims to be a serious scientist. Like, I claim to be a scientist. I don't claim to be serious. Like,
don't ever claim to be serious.
That sounds terrible.
I grew up an electrical engineer. My pops was an absolute genius. He was never serious, ever. And matter of fact, when he was serious, we'd be like, "Are you joking?"
Have these guys ever watched someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson? Well, he is fun. He is absolutely fun. He is not serious all the time. Science isn't about being serious all the time. It's being about serious when you need to be.
But that's why Neil brings on.
It doesn't have to be monotonous and boring. It really does.
No, it's not. When you actually do it, same with any of that sort of. If you're in science or maths or anything like that, it's not all about being all serious. It's fun. You do have fun,
especially Neil, because Neil deGrasse Tyson's awesome. First off, he always looks like he smoked a doobie, always. And he always has a comedian on with him. So or someone you know. So he's a genius because it's always something relatable. I
bring up Neil deGrasse Tyson because he's one of the most known science communicators who I would really, 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 really like to talk to.
Yeah, he's the modern day Carl Sagan.
He is, and I would be over the moon to actually have a chat with him.
My favorite paper I ever read was written by Carl Sagan.
Which one?
It was a what's the word? Very theoretical, but the idea was, if life existed on Jupiter, what would that life look like? It was very it was so much fun.
I'll be right
back. Yeah,
back.
I think I saw that on TV.
What did it look like?
Balloon life forms.
It would have, like balloon-like creatures, because we don't actually know if Jupiter has a surface or not. It might just be gas all the way down, or there might be rocky thing at the center. But if there is something rocky at the center, nothing can live on that, right? Because the pressures and temperatures are too high. So if there's life on Jupiter, it has to exist fully in the gas, in the atmosphere. So he proposed.
They were like these blimp-looking.
It's absolutely good.
Floated through the sky. That was crazy. Yeah,
that was really cool. So I had an undergraduate professor who did the best assignment ever to teach us how to do like research and read papers and all of that. But it was take an idea that has been thoroughly that was legitimately discussed in the literature and has since been proven wrong, right? And do a presentation on that. So I did, somebody did what if there was secretly a second Earth exactly away from us in our orbit, so we'd never see it, right? Right. What if there's life on Jupiter? What if we're secretly in a binary star system, and the second star is a brown dwarf that orbits past the Oort cloud and causes periodic mass extinctions?
Wow.
Yeah. So very fun sci-fi story, right?
I like it.
Then what was the name of the scientist who trumpeted that idea originally?
I don't remember. That was where the Nemesis.
What do they call it? Nibiru? No, is that Nibiru? Nemesis. Sorry, Nemesis stuff.
Just like Star Trek.
I'm
what
trying
is
to remember
Maslow's pyramid?
I don't know. Oh, is that Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Which is to achieve fulfillment and happiness, you have to fulfill certain needs sequentially, right? The first is do I have food and shelter? Then can I have companionship? And then so you can't look for fulfillment if you're hungry and cold, right? It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right. There's a certain order things have to come in, right?
Oh,
there's actually a pyramid of survival, and then social stuff, and then financial, and then I can't remember what it is, but there is a pyramid of social structure of what your psychology and your place in life.
Yeah,
that's excellent. I'm learning so much tonight. Damn it! How did that become educational? You two get off here. No, I'm kidding.
All fine. I'll leave. No.
Damn it! This is supposed to be drunk or not, and I'm contributing.
Well, that's why I said drunk or not, because those people come on here don't even drink. It wasn't even my idea. I rarely drink.
I just I forgot to pick up extra beer when I was at the store today, so I'm out.
Oh, I went and got my beer today.
I didn't realize I was out until it was 10 minutes before I had to start streaming, and I was like, crap, guess I'll have tea.
That is poor planning, young lady.
Poor planning. It really is.
Oh, speaking of Star Trek, do you remember Star Trek Generations?
Yes, such a good movie.
Yeah, all right. Well, what was the guy's name? The guy that Malcolm McDowell played.
Geordi.
No, the guy that Malcolm McDowell played.
The guy
the DeLorean.
The guy who was looking
who went around blowing up stars. Yeah.
Looking for the Nexus.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't have to be that complicated, because once a star starts making iron in its core, it's going to go supernova. That's just the way it is.
I think that one's for you, Maddie.
So possibility of life that's not carbon based. So the reason that life on Earth is carbon based is because you need two things. You need a molecule that's able to make
4 covalent bonds. So silicone is the next. So anything that's in the same column as carbon on the periodic table will, in theory, do. However, comma, you also need that element to exist in high abundance, right? So we've got a ton of carbon. Also, carbon is a lot easier to make than the higher elements, right? So in general, the higher up on the periodic table you are, the less of you there exists, with even numbered elements being more abundant than their odd number counterparts. But so you could have a silicone-based life form. So in theory, maybe. It can make the 4 covalent bonds, so you can make the complex structures that you need. But if you think about where do we find a silica on Earth, we find it in rocks. So you would need a very different environment than we have on Earth to get a silicone-based life form. And I am unconvinced that silicone exists in high enough abundance relative to carbon.
So you're way more carbon in the universe than silicon.
So you're telling me the Tholians don't exist?
I'm saying that the probability of a Tholian existed is low.
Having said that, we have a planet gasket material. Well, we have a moon in our solar system, Titan, which has a methane-rich atmosphere with lots of silicates, and it is conceivable there could be some form of silicon-based life form on a planet that cold, because silicon would function all right at that sort of temperatures. So, possible.
Well, so not impossible, just really hard.
Yeah, really hard. And yet we have a moon in our solar system, which could be a good place.
You know what
to
else
find
is unconceivable
and
really, really hard? Life on this planet. We beat the odds too.
Intelligent life is
intelligent life. Yeah.
So
I'm still looking for that.
So Maddie, now that we're destroying all my
misspoke.
Now that we're destroying all my misconceptions, so if we're not going to meet the Tholians, do we have a chance of meeting aliens that kind of look like us? Can we still meet the Vulcans?
Maybe.
Possibly.
If we're talking intelligent life,
is a higher probability that if we they could be Minotaurs for all.
Not until we invent warp drive.
There could be giant chickens for all we know.
Could they look like that?
Would they be in the realm? Even with the concept of panspermia, where we all come from, where life was seeded around the galaxy from one particular location, life on our own planet is so variant depending on environment that it's in, that the chances of us actually encountering an alien that's very similar to us is very, very, very small. We might find similar styles of DNA to what we find on Earth, spread throughout the entire galaxy, because DNA seems to be a thing along with RNA. But the life itself is evolved so much to suit its environment it's in. The only way you'd have something similar to this would be to find a planet in basically exactly the same sort of conditions, which could evolve the same kind of variety of life, and then hope that the ape-like life that develops on that planet gets to the same point as us, which is actually unlikely, because, I mean, we've had so many opportunities to wipe ourselves out, let alone natural disasters wiping us out. We've been lucky. Very fucking lucky.
So now we're back to the movie. Now we're back to the movie Arrival. So if we meet aliens, they're going to be like some weird, squid or something.
Yeah, they're going to need a different temperature.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a planet full of Gilbert Gottfrieds?
I'd nuke it from atmosphere. Nuke it. I'm sorry, I'm a manifest destiny human. Nuke it.
Well, we've actually found bacteria on this planet that is based on arsenic and not carbon. Am I wrong about that, or? I think it happened a couple of years ago.
I think you're right about
that. Allow me to pause and Google.
Google food. Your Google food is strong.
The problem with the whole concept of abiogenesis is that while we have a basic understanding of how the first building blocks of life came about, getting from there to actual life, we don't really understand yet. So how common it actually can happen throughout the universe isn't something that we could actually know.
So the life form that they found substitutes arsenic for phosphorus. It's not a substitute for carbon.
It's not a carbon.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, but is able
about it. Yeah.
But doesn't it is very cool that it's a life form to which arsenic is not toxic, right?
Yeah.
Because
that's what I thought when I read it. Yeah.
So that's very, 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 very cool.
All right. So almost a doctor destroyed my hopes for time travel. You just destroyed my hopes for ever meeting a Tholian.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. One more thing.
Yeah.
What
other joy can I kill for you?
When am I going to get a real hoverboard? I don't care if I'm 80. I want a real hoverboard. I'm going to put those Michael J. Fox Nikes on, show my age, and go on my hoverboard.
All right. Yep. Can we destroy that one quickly?
I bet within 20 years.
You got to surf behind a 51 DeSoto.
Technically, you can have a hoverboard now. You just have to have a strong set of spinning magnets above a copper floor.
Nope. I want to be able to go in the middle of the Hillsdale fountain that's at the Universal Studios backlot right now. In my hoverboard.
Yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
That's not what Michael J. Fox promised.
I mean, our understanding of gravity is limited at the moment to general theory of relativity. Well, I mean, that's not a huge limitation, but it is a limitation in terms of doing anything that would be considered anti-gravity, because we'd need a quantum understanding of gravity to be able to do something like that, and we just don't have that.
Yeah, if we get into the quantum world, that shit gets weird. It gets weird quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not like Endgame. It's not like Avengers Endgame. It's fucking super weird.
And if there isn't a quantum understanding of gravity, if gravity is purely just the curvature of space-time as Einstein explained it to be, then there isn't a quantum solution to those sort of problems, and there isn't an actual way to make anti-gravity in that sense, unless, of course, we can generate anti-energy.
Yeah,
and
like gravity is a
negative
property.
energy is not, even though the Kashmir effect seems to suggest that it exists, isn't something that we can create. So, yeah, I don't think you're having a floating hoverboard. You will, but you won't have an anti-gravity one. You could have one that's maybe big ginormous fans attached to this really large board that you can stand on, or over another magnetic surface that helps it levitate. You could have those, but you're not going to have anti-gravity. Sorry, babe.
Yeah, gravity is kind of like a property of space-time. It's not a force like magnetism or fuck. Let me think of another one.
So now my hopes are officially dashed.
The strong and weak nuclear. Right.
So now I can't.
Okay, what would anti-energy look like?
Well, I mean negative energy, but
me when I wake up in the morning.
Looks like energy.
Energy.
It's not like, really a lack of energy either. It's odd how that works.
Well, we live in a universe.
It depends how you're describing energy. Energy is the ability to do work. So it's like a negative ability to do work.
It's like trying to figure out what dark matter and dark energy is. We don't know.
It comes down to the similar sort of problems.
That's my new nickname.
We're pretty sure negative energy can exist because we've got experimental evidence. Some experimental evidence of negative energy, but as to exactly its properties,
we don't know. We haven't got a fucking clue. Yeah,
and we don't know is always a good answer in science.
Oh yeah,
I don't know is always a good answer. Period. If
if you don't know, just fucking say it.
Absolutely.
So Santi has to go. Thank you, Santi, for coming in. I appreciate you. I love you,
Santi.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you tomorrow, Santi.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, buddy.
Gotta go work on dinner.
Yeah, I better head out too because I've got a whole lot of work to do. I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying our conversation, Maddie.
Me too. This is good. I'm
this is great.
Not writing a paper right now that I possibly should be.
So what we're saying is that I can't go back in time and steal the almanac from my Uncle Biff.
No. Or right
Damn,
on.
We'll have to get together and work on the TARDIS.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up, kid. Give me them fucking lottery numbers. Shut up.
I built a shed.
You know what we might be able to have from your favorite sci-fis? Warp drive.
And I think teleportation is possible.
And even teleportation of singular atoms at the moment is possible. So not everything in sci-fi is impossible.
Oh yeah, if you watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, they have those tablets. What do we have now? We have those tablets right now.
So even on Stargate, if you look at the technology that they had on Stargate, they were 10 to 15 years ahead of what we have now, and that was a TV show.
Oh,
they're guests of the future.
And they were still talking about teleportation. The gate was a teleportation device. Basically, it just happened to be connected to another.
Yeah, wormholes are a teleportation.
Way the hell out there.
Although how we'd
I would be
actually
afraid of that
engineer a
kind of stuff
wormhole is a
because
bit.
my luck, I'd jump in there and a fly would jump in there with me, and then I'd come out the other end looking like Jeff Goldblum.
Well, a wormhole
love
would
that
work
movie.
exactly like it is in Stargate anyway, because if you could create a wormhole from one point to the other, basically once you cross the horizon of an artificial wormhole, you'd be out the other side.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah, you'd come out before you went in. Yeah.
Yeah, almost, yeah. The tidal forces within a wormhole would probably tear you apart, actually.
Well, sure.
Spaghettification?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think it's something you'd actually want to step through.
Well,
that's why you wear a tight belt.
Space, but it would also bend time necessarily, because it would bend space and time. So that's how you could come out before you went in.
That's another hope and dream that got dashed by truth. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, "Nope, you can't go through a black hole."
But
That's
it
only
is
in the movie."
conceivable that it is very conceivable that we could eventually have a technology similar to what Star Trek's warp drive is, where we create a region of space around a ship that is warped enough that you can actually travel at speeds approaching or exceeding what we consider the speed of light within space, because only space can move at whatever speed it likes. It's only the particles within space that are limited by the speed of light.
There was an episode when they first started testing it out, even on the Enterprise, they're like, hey, let's do this warp drive, let's collapse the space. And what they wound up doing was they created this big old asteroid in front of them because they collapsed it so tight, the matter gathered. And this asteroid was coming right straight at them,
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And then they're like, hey, we got to destroy this in order to, because the mass, jumped in. So they had to compensate after that, not to let the, space have actual mass come in there too while they're, squishing that space together. They had to figure out how to make that mass go away and just have the space itself collapse. And
Spock had to show
it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not into wishing for things.
Smart.
I'm not into wishing for things, but that would be amazing if we lived like Star Trek, without World War III.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say it. Cochrane's flight was 2065.
Yeah, exactly.
If we master fusion reactors, especially if we can get smaller ones in the future, then a lot of options for space travel that currently as science fiction open up to us, because you have the energy densities required then to do things. Exploring the solar system like they do in The Expanse becomes a reality for us at that point. Scooting around the solar system in months instead of years is a possibility if you have fusion reactors on starships.
So I know what room we're in right now. So without blaming religion, is money what holds back science? Is it the fact that our governments aren't willing to send us into outer space and like have moon bases and work with each other? Does that hold back science?
Okay, there's this lie there that you throw enough money at something and you can solve a problem quickly. That's not necessarily true. Science takes time regardless of how much money you throw at it. it takes a little less time by throwing a bit more money because you can have more people working on the problem, and more heads generally make for faster work. And if you can build bigger experiments to do the testing and stuff like that, you will get to the answers quicker. So yes, the money definitely helps, but it's still going to take time. It won't happen overnight, regardless.
Money is only a representation of resources. It has always been
Yes.
about the resources, and it always will be. That is the controlling factor of humanity on this planet. That being said, could you imagine having the Star Trek replicators? I'd be standing in front of it, not for Earl Grey tea, but pie, more pie.
I'm more interested
want all
in
the pie.
the fact that we are looking in the next 5 to 10 years being able to print organic matter, which means we could print replacement organs.
Oh
for
yeah,
people.
see that,
Yeah.
and that would help a lot because the biggest thing with an organ transplant is the rejection. You've got to take rejection drugs for the rest of your life. And if you could like take a cell of yours and print your own kidney, and it's you don't need rejection drugs.
But well,
Yeah,
'Cause
they've already done it with a pancreas, wasn't it?
What were you gonna
Was
say,
it?
Maddie?
I was just
Yeah.
going to say,
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's a side of funding in science that might be being overlooked because like it is a real choice. A lot of times, like young scientists, like where I'm at, like you choose your field, you choose your graduate program, you choose your advisor, and so what you study based off of who has money, right? Because I need to get paid and I need to eat. So a great example is NSF, a big National Science Foundation. So a big priority for the National Science Foundation is cancer research, which that's great. We should be researching cancer. But that also means that then you have a lot of people addressing that, but that also means that attention isn't on other diseases, right?
Right.
So I do think that, I think where we make progress in science is where good scientists put their attention to, right? And to some degree that is pretty affected. I think it's not necessarily intentionally affected by funding agencies, but it's certainly so it's not like manipulated by funding agencies, but like,
but it kind of
there's
is.
no
but it kind of
conspiracy.
is, but I still have to get a paycheck, right?
Right. But it's not intentionally
Exactly.
manipulated that way. The biggest problem, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. That's the way it is.
Absolutely.
But is science in general underfunded? Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Everything's underfunded.
Oh yeah, because I mean we put priorities where they shouldn't be. Let's put priorities in the military. Yay!
We should
Let's
just-
spend billions of dollars
Once
on
again,
making things to kill
trillions.
people instead of trying to cure disease.
I asked
We,
a
we
It's
should
not
do
billions, it's
we should do a
trillions.
stream on what needs to be defunded and what should be funded that's underfunded right now.
I don't
We
know
could
that
talk
anything
about that
should
for
be
like 6 hours.
defunded, but I think
Oh, yeah.
funding should be
I
spread
agree.
differently to how it is.
once again, I
My
asked this
channel
for
does
pure selfish reasons because I want to do the Spacey Zuma thing like Matt Smith did in Doctor Who. I want to like go to an amusement park. I want to be doing, looking at Earth on the moon, jumping up and down. It's all it's all for tourists' selfish sake. That's all.
Tom Baker was the best.
I
You've
mean,
been
there's a
watching
good
Futurama.
possibility that
Fight me.
there is a good possibility that in the movements that we're having in space development over the last 10 years and what's coming in the next 10 to 15, that we could end up with hotels on the moon in the next 30, 40 years. So you could go and visit the moon in your retirement.
I mean, they're already working on a space hotel, so why not?
And
That'd
actually
be cool.
be aware that the chances are that with the ability to print new organs, with improvements in medical technology, we may all be living well into our hundreds.
That would be so awesome to be wearing a vest.
Yeah, we'll still be old though. We
like,
haven't solved
looking
aging.
like a hobbit. Looking like a hobbit.
Yep.
I'm 125. In my day. And yes, I would get
Come on.
You know the worst part of the in my day thing
Yeah.
is Will and I were talking about drive-ins this morning, and we were saying how there are so many younger people today who don't even have a clue what a drive-in was. Yeah,
I
they
went to
were.
a drive-in.
With
They
the
still have them in
experience.
some
Oh
places.
yeah.
Mhm.
See, but Maddie, you live in Oklahoma.
Yep, I know.
That's old
There's
school.
one
That's
near me.
old school America. Do they
You're
still
right.
have? Do they still have the speaker that you put over into your car? Like if you were to go to a drive-through, or is it on
So-
the AM/FM radio?
I've been to both.
Awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So
Geez,
actually,
no, I grew up with drive-ins. In the town I grew up in, the cinema came a lot later, and we had 4 or 5 different drive-ins. And drive-ins were everywhere, and you went and saw a couple of movies. You know, you paid your money, you parked up, you saw a couple of movies, and you know, did all that. I remember going in high school, and there was
do
a
you
bunch
guys
of people from
remember?
high school there, and they all decided they all hated the movie so much that all the guys climbed in the back and had a wanking contest, and I left. I was like, that's disgusting.
Australia.
I'm sorry, what?
They had a wanking contest in the back of the ute.
That's
do you
just
win
lovely.
if you're the first or the last?
I have no idea because I
No
left.
one wins.
I went
no
to the
one
shop.
Wins, Maddie. No one wins.
I think if you're the little
I'm
guy in the
good.
middle, you win because you're the center of attention.
Yeah. That'd be called a twink. Anyways, we're not going there today. The point is that it's not
We're
okay.
talking
We'll just
about
leave that alone right there.
movies. Why is it always sex? It always goes straight back. We were talking
Because we are human beings. That's why.
I was just talking
You
about
guys
things that
remember
happened
having
at
playgrounds
drive-ins,
in
that's
front of
all.
the theaters, though? I
Yeah.
remember Woody Woodpecker playing, and there's kids out there on the merry-go-round, or not the merry-go-round, but what do you call it? It's
Oh
the
yeah,
thing that you
the
whip around there
because you had
and
to have the
swing sets and
playground
stuff.
at the drive-in. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just send the kids up there, and you tell them, okay, when the main movie starts, we're gonna have our hot dogs and stuff. Come back here. So they sit right up there, real close, and watch Woody Woodpecker and shit like that. I remember doing that. When I was a kid.
Yeah. I see. I miss that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, as I said to Will, the cinema itself is also a dying thing now. COVID's helped that. But I mean, we've got so many good streaming services,
Right.
and now that we like Disney doing, let's launch the movies on pay to view on our streaming service at the same time as they go in the cinemas. No one's going to cinemas. We've all got big screen televisions or projectors in our own home, and it's much more comfortable
What?
than going to the cinema.
What do you mean by big TV?
I just created.
That's big for your home.
I just created another list. Like your watch later and stuff like that here on YouTube. I just created another list of movies. YouTube has so many cheesy ass movies that are free.
Randy, right now I'm watching Give Me a Break, the old Nell Carter show. I'm watching Last of the Summer's Wine.
I love Last of the Summer Wine.
I'm watching like 4 or 5 different shows on YouTube right
barrels.
now. And because
I'm in the grocery store, I want a vat of mayo.
All right.
Love you.
Bye, Jen. Love you. Thanks for coming, honey.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, honey.
So YouTube has yet to
great.
let me down. It's taught me how to change the oil on 2 different buses, on every vehicle I've ever owned since inception of YouTube. It taught me how to fix a chainsaw. It has yet to let me down. When I ask YouTube a question of, oh crap, how do I fix this? I just broke it. It has yet to let me down.
Yeah, anything from mechanics to dirty jokes. And I've even changed my pickup lines from "Hi, I'm Randy. How about that vagina?" to other pickup lines like being a gentleman in some ways.
I found the video.
Notice he has nothing for that though.
Yeah.
Describes it because he really hasn't figured out how to do that yet.
I found the video for my
Fucking love you,
garage
Randy.
door, opener. I found the instruction manual and everything. Took it apart, put it back together, and everything.
Nice.
YouTube's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
YouTube is amazing.
Yeah,
It had the
stuff like
full
that.
YouTube
They'll
is.
do all kinds of things.
Oh,
We
yeah.
love you too.
I'm getting back into the
Monetize me
survival
early.
stuff right now, and the woodsland, survival stuff. I'm getting back into that now too because I forgot a lot of what I used to even teach.
I have
It's fun.
I have two good friends who moved away in 1999 and moved to Montana because they thought the world was going to end. And they both still live in Montana, but they're survivalists with Facebook accounts.
I just remembered I didn't email my brother. Oh my goodness.
But they're
anyways, Maddie,
boy.
the reason I wanted you to email him and jump on Saturday with him is because he and Tobin will be having a big discussion for the first time.
Okay.
And so he's going to start out with the first place he starts, as instead of you jumping in somewhere and he's in deep into the conversation.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think it would be a good thing. Tobin's great, and honestly, I had no idea how smart that kid is. The fucking kid's smart. He'll take a second to process, but he's a smart kid. And my brother's my brother's very science minded and a theist, I thought that you two would get along. So I'm gonna try to
most people.
Yeah, he does too. Yeah. And I'm going to try to jump over and maybe get in on that discussion as well.
What time is that?
It's at 8 p.m. Eastern on Richard's channel.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, Demolished Doctrine.
Okay. Gotcha.
You guys will find him. He's the one with the weird pink and red painting on his. Yeah, half the chat's probably already
I'd like
to
to
it
link to that.
or is blocked on one of the two. What, Randy?
I'll find it. I need to find that channel. I need to link to that.
I'll get it right now for you. Give me a second.
I want to see that.
I can pull it up in like 2 minutes. Yeah, he's going to
Richard and I
start
have
pretty much
talked
the
before,
beginning.
and we're still in the middle of a conversation about biblical descriptions of water.
Huh?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which there are.
Yeah,
several.
waters. He will tell you that in the Bible, where it says waters, if you look it up in the original text, it meant people.
Yeah,
and that is in Hebrew.
But
that's what it was originally written in. Anyway.
Well, just like the Christian word angel in the original Hebrew, the word was melech, which was messenger, not dude with wings on his back.
That's a very medieval picture. Most of our iconography, Christian iconography, is very. It has more in common with Dante, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a link to his channel for everyone who wants it.
Dude with wings sounds amazing.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't there a classification of angel, quote unquote, that would melt you like in Raiders of the Lost Ark? Like if you looked at him, it would actually melt.
Google. Where's my phone?
I heard that.
Oh, let's look at. I'm strong on Google for too. Melting.
Well, just so you guys know, our DNA, I believe, is what I was told. Our DNA, I believe, is close to birds.
Oh, we share 50% of our DNA with bananas. So,
how much?
Don't tell Ray Comfort.
Nice. Maybe that's why I love them so much. God, I love bananas.
It both fits in your hand and in your asshole, just perfect.
No, I like cutting them up.
Oh, there you go. Boom, boom, boom. Randy got it.
A little bit of a joke, but no, seriously, I like to cut them up and put them on a sandwich with peanut butter.
Oh, that sounds good. I'm kind of hungry.
Oh shit! I should have said that. I haven't had dinner either. I went right from the interview to this.
Banana and mayonnaise sandwich.
Ew.
Right.
Oh wait.
Now that don't sound
shit's
good.
great.
The fourth angel poured out his bowl onto the sun, and the sun was allowed to scorch the people with fire. Revelation 16:8.
Yeah, well, Revelation, everything gets weird.
Revelation is the best book in the Bible. Yeah. Fucking love reading that shit. Yeah.
Weird.
What Revolution
grasshoppers
or
or whatever
Revelations
with human faces.
is hi. I'm a dude who was on an island sniffing gases and had a major meltdown and then wrote it down because whoa.
So when the end comes, the angels are gonna melt you. Beware. Beware.
In actuality, and don't quote me on this because I'm not like I'm a scientist, not a historian or a biblical scholar. But I think what Revelation is sort of a form of literature that exists, like apocalyptic literature that existed in that time period that we don't have an analog for, right? It's not supposed to be a prediction. It's a different type of literature. It's just, they had an extra category at the library than we do. Yeah.
Dude ate a bunch of mushrooms that he didn't know what they were, and he was like, "Let me write this shit down. I don't before I forget it."
Right. So, it's certainly not trying to predict the future. That's certainly not what that text is trying to do.
Hence the
because I had a connection. I had a connection with the older world. I learned to ask people questions, and I used to always ask my grandparents, my dad, because they were so much older than me. And my pop told me that his grandmother, first off, in 1899, everyone thought the world was going to end. Mm-hmm. They thought that's when Jesus was going to come back, because we attribute the book of Revelations to arbitrary numbers.
Right.
That's what in the modern era, that's what human beings do.
That's fun. No, it's not a game I want to
play. And they also believe so in my dad's grandmother lived to be 90 something years old. She was like a child of slavery and like Reconstruction. She refused to get in a car because she believed if you went over 55 miles an hour you would go insane.
But that's also
just like people who thought if you rode a horse over 45 mile per hour that you would lose your breath. That's why nobody rode a train.
Yep. Yeah. The railway nerves was a real diagnosed condition.
So we changed is what I'm trying to say. Like, so how are we able to interpret something from that far back from we are different from people that are only 2 or 3 generations removed. And we're trying to interpret something that's 20, 30 generations, It just seems like a load of horse poop to me.
Yeah.
Like we're just
just say it, horseshit. It's horseshit.
I've trained myself because of my son.
Sounds better when you say it, Rex.
My son has picked up I'm
oh well, yeah, fair enough.
I was raised by a man who was in the Navy. He was a non-vet. I say F every other word, and I've trained myself not to because I'm around my son.
Fair enough.
And I don't want him to have my dirty ass mouth.
Man, I got out of the Navy. And then I went to grad school, and then, gosh, I had to stop cursing because I made everybody else uncomfortable.
Exactly.
What was so funny about that was my lab group, it's me and it is all guys, right? So it's me and all guys, and I walk in and they're like, they do this thing that men will often do if they're not used to having a female coworker, which is like, get all like weird and not know if they can make a joke or something when I'm like, or like not know if they can say fuck. And I'm just like, oh my fucking God, you like giggle fucks. Like just, you need to get your shit together. I'm just a goddamn fucking human. Right. And I do that. And then they calm down, except then apparently I'm like intimidating or something.
Oh my God.
Is what I'm saying. I got some feedback that I'm intimidating.
Damn if you do.
That's the funniest part. You're in a class.
I got called a foul mouth,
and you cuss more than they do. It's fucking great.
Because I'm a lady with the mouth of a well-educated pirate.
And a unicorn. And speaking of unicorns,
hey,
another fun shit. Hi, Kitty.
We got a vampire coming in.
How are you?
Empress of Hell.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite picture. Her with the vampire.
I'm exhausted.
Oh,
honey.
Do you need a hug? Did you come in here for a hug?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if you'd still be streaming, but I just finished what I was doing, and I'm just like, I need rest and relaxation. But B might still be streaming, so let me see if she's over.
I am here, and we were discussing all kinds of weird shit and sciencey stuff.
Overprotected atheist.
I'm right there with you, Kitty. Yeah, I woke up
Hi,
exhausted this morning
Kitty.
because I dreamt that I was a muffler.
You dreamt you were a muffler? You better lay
Yeah,
off
and I
those
woke up
beans,
exhausted.
Randy. That's good shit.
I can't
What,
remember.
Kitty comes in and everybody stops talking.
Well, I completely lost my train of thought. Like
Yeah,
I said,
I don't know where we were.
I'm 420ing more today than I did yesterday because yesterday was such a serious day yesterday.
Yeah.
It felt almost disrespectful for me to get as ripped as, you know, I waited until like the extreme end of the night. Did you see me on Bub's stream? When it all hit me, I was at a loss for words. I was like, I gotta go. I was overwhelmed. I was like, I don't even want to talk about this because I'm so angry. Nothing but F, F, everybody, F, this is going to come out. Like, I shut down and I was like, I got to go. And they went for like 4 or 5 hours, but I was too angry to express myself legibly yesterday because I was like, oh, whoop-de-doo. Yeah, I didn't want to hurt everyone's feelings either. I didn't want to say a bunch of stuff that would like get me canceled because we're all sensitive.
Right.
I'm just gonna sit here in the dark.
Love it. I don't get the idea of like everyone's at risk of being canceled for literally anything at any moment. When it's just like, are you being a dick to another human? Yeah, maybe don't do that, and there's consequences.
Well, I have
right,
like middle of the road views about certain things, so I'm opinionated, so I keep my mouth shut because I know there are consequences, and it's not always direct. It's sometimes I'm more critical on particular groups because I'm a part of them.
Yeah,
and so I'll say something sometimes, and it's more of a from the inside point of view, and someone will look at me and be like, "Who the hell are you?"
Well, and I think there's a time for non-recorded conversations.
Yes.
Right. Like, and there's a time, and if there were conversations being recorded, the rules are a little different. Right. But that's, yeah.
And then see, that's the thing. Like, I was elated of everything that happened, and I was like ecstatic, but then it reminded me of everything else that has been going on around it, and since then, and because of it, and before, and in my lifetime, I'm like, oh, here we go, another trial. Like, why are we even here in the first place? And if you want to take it back, even let's step away from the subject. Let's step away from everything. Human beings, we are on this weird path. We are doomed to repeat the same shit over and over. Pick a subject, we do it over and over and over. It's just, and man, we have enough recorded history that, like, I'm like pointing at my books like you guys can see them. We have enough recorded history to know where we're going if we make certain choices. So it trips me out of how lemmings we are sometimes, you know? Get your shit together, humans.
Every generation has to learn.
That's why history is so important. That's why I say you can't throw history away.
I agree.
Even if it's bad shit, like the bad monuments and racist crap, don't throw it away. Put it in its own little racist area and let people learn from it. Because if you take it all away, they're going to think it never happened one day. The generations after us are going to forget about
like the
it,
Holocaust
and it's going to
Museum.
repeat. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I went in there and I cried for hours.
Me too.
But I went through the whole damn thing anyway.
I got a stack of papers on my family because I actually had family members that were in one of Hitler's internment camps, and then they came to the United States after the war. And so I've been there, and yeah, we can have, you know, a fucking monument to slavery, you know, with proper, you know, historical context for all of these monuments, like, and be like, this was not something to be celebrated. But I am fine with, you know, not having fucking military bases and schools named after Confederate generals because they were fucking traitors to the United States, and we shouldn't glorify that.
Yes.
And I'm fine with, you know, if they have a memorial in a cemetery where, you know, you have the fallen soldier, don't fuck with that, you know, just leave that be. But most of the Confederate monuments were put up in response to the civil rights movement. and it was to keep the black people scared and in their place. It had nothing to do with contemporary, people putting up, because they were fucking traitors. Nobody wanted monuments to traitors. The majority of them were done by racist white people trying to intimidate black people so that they wouldn't keep seeking rights. And it was in the 50s and 60s.
That's totally true. Yep.
And that's why in my little racist park, I want a wall all the way around it so people don't have to look at it if they don't want to. And you have to walk around a corner to go inside. And then a marker with the statistics of what that fucking asshole did, or people or assholes or whatever. And so people can look at the statistics and look at that motherfucker.
Yeah, call it the Hall of Losers. Like I always say, call it the second. There's no
Hall
such
of Losers is perfect.
I have something to say about monuments. How many monuments do you see about Joe Schmo who have helped his community his whole life, and ran a soup kitchen and all that stuff? It's never been about somebody like that. It's always been about people in power and wealth.
Okay, so sometimes though, it depends on the community, because there's two or three different organizations that have named buildings after my dad, but he helped them out. He donated a bunch of stuff to them. He helped them out. You know what I'm saying? And they were just like, let's do a gesture, So sometimes if you help your community, they're going to say, hey, remember this person helped us,
But remember, history is written by the victors, and they're apt to leave out things that don't put them in the best light. When it comes down to it, I think that it would be better to, and I know this is going to sound weird and kind of Ministry of Truthy, but ultimately I think that there should be, an apolitical, nonpartisan, historical society that is global. Think like a sub-branch of the UN where they actually document these things as close to factually, accurate as possible, without the outside influence of, the U.S. was contributing to a genocide in Yemen, so let's not talk about that.
No, I agree with you. Also, because someone like me, I had 27 family members that fought for the Confederacy that were black, and 2 that fought for the Union and that were black, and it gets erased from history. People don't want to know that Confederate soldiers were black. A bunch of them were black because that was the population in the South at the time, was mainly black people.
They had no choice.
Yeah,
they were forced into it.
Yeah, they were slaves. And the ones on the north side fought to free everybody.
But there were a lot of black soldiers. I always love when I meet somebody and they're like, oh, my name's Robert Lee, and I always ask them, how many family members do you have fighting the Civil War? And they're like, oh, my cousin on my uncle's blah 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 side, and I'm like, I had 27 with my last name directly with the same last name that I have right now.
Then you go like this.
Yeah.
I have a Confederate colt, and it's not because I bought it.
Like, I think, and I know that, like, some people, and even I am wary of, believing that one thing is, like, the absolute truth, because, many dystopian novels, that I've read, you have very much who controls the information can control the population. But I figured if it was a global effort where you had countries kind of not self-policing, but like kind of checking each other's work, because I think that might be the best way to get a true and accurate description of what is going on in the world, and just a tally mark of every
like a peer review process.
Exactly. And have it, recorded and kept almost like fuck, I can't think of the term right now, but the Library of Congress, something like that, but like handled by the United Nations, and all the member states are kind of policing all the other states and making sure that all of their documentation is in order, and what they say happened is what happened. And we try to get as close to an accurate portrayal of history as possible. But ultimately, I mean, you'd still have black ops and things that weren't on the books that people wouldn't necessarily know about. So even that would be incomplete, but it would probably be the closest we would get to um, the absolute truth of the matter, you know, where if we had something like that, then something like,
Right.
you know, Rosewood and Black Wall Street and all of the people that were killed, you know, by the United States government just for being black people that had pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, we would know about it, you know, like it wouldn't be hidden where like
Or even what happened to the Aboriginal Australians, you know,
oh
Native
god.
Americans in America. You know,
Mhm.
the list is endless. What happened to the Native Americans when the Spanish came to California? You know, it's funny, when I was a kid, we were taught that they were slaves and they were worked to death. They don't teach people that now at all. The wording is completely changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
so
have you seen the movie The Nightingale?
no.
Holy shit. Like, I recommend watching it, but trigger warning, there's a very realistic depiction of assault, and a baby is murdered in front of the mother while she's being assaulted. So like, it's dark, but it
You've
basically
already
follows.
So
scarred
it's
me.
Christian based. No,
You've
I'm just
already
kidding.
scarred
No.
me for life right there. What you
It
said.
takes place. It takes place in Australia, in a penal colony there, where an Irish woman is basically this one soldier for the British Army is infatuated with her, and even though she was supposed to be remanded to the custody of her husband, you know, a while ago, he wants to keep her because he's infatuated with her, and she ends up, you know, being really traumatized by this guy, and then he goes off to leave and get this new higher posting, and she enlists the aid of an Aboriginal man who is essentially just there as a tracker and somebody to be stepped on by the British, because she's a second class citizen as a woman and a prisoner, and he's like a third class not even citizen because he's an Aboriginal, and like they have to work together to try to track down this guy, and it is fucking phenomenal. Like, if you can get past the brutality, it is an amazing film. Like, I cried, and not very many things make me cry.
Yeah, those movies, they get to me after a while.
Well, I mean, the thing I never learned in high school about history was that, yeah, we gave the Native Americans blankets with smallpox.
Jeffrey Ashton was Sir. No, it was Lord Jeffrey Ashton. Figured he
Right.
couldn't fight him, so he gave him blankets.
It's kind of crazy you learn stuff like that from South Park before you learn it from most history textbooks. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that the soldiers would go around and use the butts of their
Mhm.
guns to kill women and children to save on bullets.
Well, and
Yeah,
also
I never heard that in high school.
something that's very much left out of high school texts is the long period of time where the U.S. government would pay a bounty on every Native man, woman, and child. And that's actually where the term redskin comes from. If anyone was wondering, it was the term that referred to the scalp, the bloody scalp that you would use as proof that you would
on that topic, Maddie, I teach a geography class up here, and it's always daunting how little the incoming freshman college students know about American history. When we talk about Latin America or the Oceania or something like that, you know, I'm like, you know what Banana Republic comes from? You don't want to know what the term Banana Republic comes from.
Exactly.
And that's you can go like to the 50s and 60s and run into those exact conversations. And that's your parents were alive when that stuff was happening. Your grandparents might have done it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and also, so my grandmother, I'm
sorry, I always like to preface this. I am an enrolled member of the Cherokee tribe of Oklahoma. I am also white, right? Anyway, but my grandmother, her cousins, so it was, of her generation, her cousins were sent to like the government run boarding schools that like took Native kids from their families.
Oh yeah.
That were ran through the 70s.
That's another thing you weren't taught in high school. Yeah.
And I will say this, I mean, I was always taught that. And I don't know some of that was, I was taught that, like things about that, like through my family, but in Oklahoma is interesting because you do actually get a lot of Native history. Because it's, we were Indian territory. And everyone that's from here is like, if your family's been here for a few generations, if you're from here, you're probably part Native, whether you can prove it or not.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to basic training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and the amount of fucking Native art that they have in that fucking base. I mean, it's horrific and it's fucking impressive.
Well, I went to the Smithsonian's Native American Museum and was horribly unimpressed because I was like, dude, the roadside shop has more than this, like off the highway at home.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I actually, as a kid in Oklahoma, I was taught about the race riot. That I don't think that's ubiquitous for Oklahoma education, but that's definitely I was taught about the race riot.
I was 20 something years old in the Portland library, mad as hell. Where I randomly picked up a book and I sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours just reading it.
And I will say this. So the race riot is obviously a very important event that should be taught. Sometimes when we talk about it, we skip over the part that Tulsa was Black Wall Street, right? That this was one of the richest concentrations of wealth in the African-American population in the United States. And sometimes I think we sort of forget that like...
You focus on the tragedy, not on the accomplishment, yeah.
Right. Well, and also just the economics that drove then the tragedy, right?
And the fact that there wasn't really any reparations whatsoever. Like that wealth that they accumulated was taken from them. It was destroyed and it was just gone. Exactly. Yeah. Like nothing was done to make up for that atrocity. I think they gave them a medal. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
Right. And that neighborhood is not a good neighborhood these days. Like...
There are still parts of Los Angeles that are burnt down from the riots.
The 90s, the Rodney King riots.
Yeah, there's still buildings that because people refuse to go back and rebuild, so it's just a dirt lot that's been rotting ever since.
Yeah, Detroit's mostly the same way from those exact same riots. Yeah. I'll be honest. I learned about those Tulsa riots from HBO's Watchmen. I didn't know about it until that's everyone started talking about it because of that show. And that's ridiculous. HBO has to tell you about your own history.
Yeah.
But history is funny that way. And it goes back to, if we're going to revamp history, we need to go back and retell certain stories. Like instead of the eyes from the victor, be like, no, these people were wiped out. I always bring up, Lewis and Clark, one of their most like no shit lines ever was when they came to Oregon. I can't remember if it was Lewis or Clark, but they wrote in their journal, there's more people on the Willamette River than in all of the United States. There were more Native, they basically had been pushed west, more and more west, and there was a conglomerate in what we consider Oregon now.
Oh, what was that city? What was the city that's famous for like a gigantic metropolis in Native America? There's probably many of them. There's like one city that was famous to be like one of the biggest cities in the world. Anyone know the name of that?
Are you thinking of a city in like Central or South America?
In North America. There was a North American city. Central South America had, the Aztecs and stuff, but usually when you think of Native Americans, you think of teepees and Pocahontas, Disney Pocahontas, but they actually had full-size cities. And there was one that, like, its population rivaled European cities. I can't remember what the hell it was.
Well, the thing to remember is that 80 to 90% of the native population in the Americas was killed by disease.
Yeah.
Right. It's a virgin soil epidemic is the phrase. So yeah, no wonder when you go, there's no people because they all died of smallpox. But that's again 80 to 90% of the native population. For comparison, the Black Death killed 30% of Europe's population. Right. So this is
yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Cahokia, that's what I was thinking of. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it had a population of like 20,000 at like 1100 AD.
Wow. Wow. I think someone has a stream on. Okay. Echo's gone.
Yeah, I agree with you though, Maddie. It's just nuts, like going that step beyond the basic of history,
Yeah. Well, and
everything.
even the fact that, like,
It is insane what we don't know right now about our past.
Yeah, only I hate that the picture of like who natives are, like only a handful of tribes were nomadic in the plains and used teepees, right? That's not. Most of these were permanent settlements, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hundreds of languages and cultures and religions. Not every Native American culture worshipped the buffalo,
Right.
I agree.
But again,
very much
weren't they?
We're sold
mostly hunter-gatherers.
We're sold the stereotype in order to dehumanize them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's
cool.
A long time ago, I went to a rock opera in Arizona, of all places. And the performer comes out and he's like, I've been in Arizona almost 2 months. I have yet to see a native person. And it kind of caused a stir, but what this person was trying to say is like, he was trying to point out the fact that Arizona was all Native American and it's not at all anymore. And it caused a stir because, I was in Mesa, Arizona, so it was mainly just, people that had money, but they were bringing up the fact that, hey, how come these people don't exist anymore? Why? Let's talk about it. Because we're going to. Basically, that's what the rock opera was about. It was about genocide.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Purple, I would like to know more about that 500 Nations too, where you found that out. And I don't know if you're a mod on here, if you can put a link in or not, but or just let me know and I'll find it and put a link in. But that sounds interesting. I'd like to see that.
And that's what I'm saying. There's so much history that's lost because they didn't win.
Yeah.
So the tribes where I'm at were the first federally recognized tribes in the U.S.
I hate the notion of federally recognized.
I'm sorry.
Tribes. That's okay. No, it's this
because they shouldn't be. They shouldn't have to be licensed like that or recognized by somebody. Oh, hey, we accept you as who you are.
They're like a car dealership. Yeah,
it also explicitly excludes other tribes, right? So there are non-federally recognized tribes that exist today.
Yeah.
They don't receive any benefits.
So every tribe has to fight just to be recognized as people who exist or matter for that. That matter. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I think it's also worth pointing out that this is not a Americentric issue, right? What are they, the Kurds, the largest people without a country in the world?
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
This is the Uyghurs, obviously, currently going on right now in China.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. America sucks,
I didn't hear
but the
about
rest of the world sucks too.
No, I always say that because
that's where we got our ideas.
I lived in Mexico for a while, and if you go anywhere where you're not from, you'll be happy to come home.
Yeah.
Even though I lived in really nice parts of Mexico where you'd laugh because it's some parts are better than America. And that's another country we're lied to about. Some parts are third world, but other parts people live their lives like you and I every day. They go to school, they have the same wants and needs. It's just like here. It's just a different country that speaks a different language.
That's right.
Well, yeah, to go on that point again, when I go over geography, when I talk about the region of Africa, everyone always pictures yurts and killing lions with spears, but Ethiopia has multiple large cities and skyscrapers, and basically, those things exist over there, but that's not the cliche. So,
and Gaddafi was the first African to put I'm echoing again from somebody. Gaddafi put a satellite in orbit, and he basically was the first African to give cell service to Africa.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to crack.
What's the difference between people in Dubai and people in Abu Dhabi?
People in Dubai don't pay taxes. I actually knew somebody who lived in Dubai.
No, people in Dubai don't know who Fred Flintstone was, but people in Abu Dhabi do.
Are those mini voodoo dolls?
No, they're Zapp's voodoo chips. They're fucking amazing.
Oh, they're potato chips.
They're like a sweet, spicy barbecue, and they're fucking phenomenal. You can get them at Walmart.
I normally hate barbecue, but if it's really spicy and barbecue, then I can deal with it.
It's a little sweet, a little tangy. It leaves a little bit of heat in your mouth, and they're kettle style chips too. Like, they're fucking phenomenal. I'm addicted to them.
I knew someone that lived in Dubai, and they were whiny about how they had to pay for gas, because apparently in Dubai you don't have to pay for gas.
I believe it.
Huh.
And I love how Cadence was able to tell from the back of the bag exactly what I was eating. Like, GG, babe.
They're kettle cooked.
I think that's another misconception we have in America and just the West in general. There's people in other countries that live better than us and in peace.
Yeah, we are not the greatest things in sliced bread. Nope.
But we have this conception of like, oh, this country is that or that. No, they downplay their country because they don't want us there. I've been quite a few places, and they're like, oh, you're awesome. Don't tell people you've been here.
Yeah,
we weren't too bad before bread was sliced, but once it started coming sliced, we were pretty shitty after that. It's actually pretty accurate.
That is. You almost hit the bullseye with that one.
Okay, guys. I'm going to let you guys go for the night. I'll see you later.
Have a good
night, Maddie.
Oh, take care, Maddie.
Thanks for coming by,
Thank
Maddie.
you, Maddie.
Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave. Bye, Maddie. Hi, Dave.
See, that's why I love Will. I love Will because he throws up the sign of the horns.
Yes, and sliced bread is the greatest thing since Betty White. That's right.
Here's the thing. We're a nation of war. If you actually look, there's only about 20 years in our nation's entire history since it was conceived that we have not been in an armed conflict or war.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
We have never been the good guys.
Want to know a good reason for it?
It's about money.
Because it's right in our legal. Yeah, and it's about taxes. Government can't collect taxes unless it's in a state of emergency or war. So this is why we have to create perpetual war.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kitty, just to clarify, you're not talking declared war, you're talking armed conflict, right? Because we haven't declared war since World War II.
Well, and the war on terror, I would argue,
Like Vietnam wasn't a war, it was a police action,
Yeah, but I mean, leave the words aside, like armed conflict with either, troops on the ground or, backing and fighting shadow wars. I count those as well because
I 100% agree with you. I just clear the semantics.
I'll tell you, because it's all semantics. Because I have a brother who, I have a few brothers who served and they've been to Africa more times than people who live there. If you know what I'm saying. Like we fight wars that people never talk about.
No.
We show up with our Marines and our boats. We kick ass and then leave.
Yep.
You know.
Hey, I got a buddy who was a gunny sergeant in the Marines, and there was his last 3 years he was in. He was not in a lot of places he was in.
Exactly.
That's all I'm gonna say.
My brother, I always tell the story. My brother got shot right here. He has no feeling all the way up through his arm, all the way to his finger. One day he's gonna have to get his finger amputated because it's just, there's nothing there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Purple. Kitty, when was there not a war? At what time were we not at war? If you, I think Purple's saying all armed conflicts and everything encompassing in the word war.
Let me pull it up. There was actually a website where it actually marked off every single one of the armed conflicts, and it only came out to about 20 years or so from 1776 onward that we weren't engaged in conflict. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, find it. We'll throw it up there.
Yikes. Well, if you think about it, it's always for a resource or some political reason.
Resources, like I always say.
During shock and awe, they even called up my overweight brother who has been a reserve Marine since the first Iraqi war, and he went because he knew how to guard an oil field is what it is. Because he's done it before. If you ask him,
let me back in because I have epilepsy.
If you ask him a direct question, he'll tell you. He's like, hey, they put me right back where I was 20-something years. They put him right back in the same spot he was when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I kind of got lucky because I got out in February of 1991, and then 9/11 happened. And they had so many people joining. I got a letter that say you might be recalled, but I never did get recalled. So.
They had a surplus of people joining because, and I'm not even trying to be mean, but propaganda works, So massive.
Well, not only that, it wasn't just the propaganda; it was also the fact that the military started that GI Bill shit. So a lot of kids were like, "Hey, you're going to pay for my college if I'm in the Army for 4 years." And they jumped on that shit to get out of the small town USA and try to make something themselves. There was a large surge of that for, I'd say, about 15, 20 years.
My brother,
that was going on.
My brother did, my brother who's like closest in age to me, he did 20 years in the Air Force. And in the 90s, when he signed up, they gave him $15,000 as a signing bonus. Just to join the Air Force. They were enticing him, like, oh, come here, I'll give you money. And he graduated high school. 3 days later, he was picked up by a van and never came back to this town ever again. So the Air Force hooked him up for life.
But he was like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Oh, yeah. And he's not the only person in my family, but let's be real, he gave his life away. And I have another brother who was in the Army, I believe. He was in Korea, Germany, and he's been a prison guard for over 30, almost 40 years. He's crazy. He's crazy. So but they gave him a bunch of money because he's willing to do all these things, like be a prison guard, be, in the military, do all these things that a lot of people won't, That's the enticement, is they give you a ton of money.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking at Kitty's list here. It looks like Clinton gets the victory for the most recent year without a war. But I kind of find it hard to believe we didn't kill people in the year 2000. I don't know if I trust that.
Oh, we did, but it was one of those Black Ops things. We don't know.
Wow. We were pushing it. Looks like Carter did pretty well.
We're always killing people like that, though. That's been going on for a long time.
Jimmy Carter was, I think, the only president that, didn't fire a shot during his
3 of his 4 years. It lists 3 of his 4 years here.
Yeah, Carter was the most peaceful president, I believe.
Crazy.
Well,
But-
everybody said that they had the Carter doll. You just set him on a shelf and he does nothing for 4 years.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
the
was
other
the Carter
super
joke,
depressing,
but
the other super depressing thing about this list is that
Carter.
banana wars, like starting in 1914 and going to 1934, we were essentially killing Latin American people for cheap fruit. That's it's depressing to look at as a list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just saying,
if
Carter
you
was
count it up,
called the Great Negotiator because he
Oh,
brought
really?
people
I'm
together
not even trying to
more
be
than any
mean.
other president.
I'm not even trying to be mean, but that has never stopped. The only difference is that we have, like, when I say we, I mean that as a country, we have control over their food. That's the only difference. We're the ones that started all the wars. We're the ones that put the dictators on both sides. We put leaders on both sides, you know. We created what's going on, especially even in
Did you know
Mexico, Guatemala. We
Saddam
created
Hussein
that.
had the biggest cannon ever built?
yeah. So
Yeah, Saddam
17
Hussein built
years.
a cannon
17
so big
years
that
out of
he
239,
launched
we
it into
weren't in
outer
some
space.
kind of armed conflict.
Wow.
Go
I
USA.
was rounding it to 20.
Wow.
You were being
That's very
generous.
kind of you to America to round up. Thank you.
I mean, it is my country. I was born here.
So the UK has very close statistics as well, because I listened to quite a few hate preachers and this one 5%er guy that always goes to Hyde Park and screams at people. And the UK statistics are very close. Just add 500, 600, 700 years to that. But they're very, very close. So there's basically
that's
not
imperialism for you.
Yeah, there's not a point in time where they have not been at war or giving arms to somebody since their inception, basically. And now Biden pulled out our contract with the Saudis to save face. Britain had 12%, and now they have 86% of the contract. They're rich. All they have to do is make arms for the Saudis like we did.
Honestly, though, I'm okay with like losing that money, considering we have been helping the Saudis commit a genocide in Yemen. They're blockading. Children are dying of starvation and dysentery. They're blockading medicine, which goes against fucking,
I agree.
the
I agree.
UN charters to not commit. Like, it's a fucking war crime.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's genocide, which is war crime. Blockading medication so that it can't get to the populace and blockading food. Those are fucking war crimes. And we have been aiding and abetting them for years.
Yes.
And
almighty
you know
dollar,
what?
baby.
I'm fine with losing the money from the Saudis. I wish the rest of the world.
I think
would
that's why the
fucking stop
reporter
dealing
was
with them.
killed over there.
That's what Biden was
to
trying
expose
to
all
do.
that shit.
That's exactly what Biden was trying to do. He was like, hey, we're the biggest player and we're pulling out. But what happens, and I'm sorry to say,
That's what she
but
said.
they're in cahoots, because what happened, like I said, is that the UK went from 12% to like 80-something%. And so we just basically hooked up our friends. So we said, okay, we're gonna stop giving them arms because we've already made tons of money off of these guys. Now you can't. We're done fleecing them. It's your turn.
Yeah.
It's just a never-ending cycle of BS.
Well, it's just like they say about like black market guns or drugs or whatever. You could take that drug dealer off the street. Someone's going to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
In order to stop the Saudis, it would take every country to stop feeding them, but they give us oil.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So
why we need to move away from fossil fuels, because that, just like if we were to legalize tax and regulate drugs, it would destroy the cartels and generate, plenty of tax revenue for the government.
God, yes.
If we fucking move away from fossil fuels, then the Saudis and the other oil magnates over there that are committing atrocities around the world, they would fucking shrivel up and die because they wouldn't have that lifeline to feed them anymore.
So on a small scale right now, in with the legalization of pot and all the cracking down at the border, we've crippled the cartels, and they're fighting each other right now for resources in Mexico. because we're growing our own pot now. We're getting pot from other places.
Yep.
We don't necessarily need drugs from them anymore. You know, and legalized drugs has kind of destroyed the illegal drug trade in that sense, because people still grow it here and sell it illegally. That's nothing new, you know, but we regulated something and it stopped a lot of crimes, at least on this side of the border, you know. So I don't know what the answer is anymore.
I don't know either.
Smoke
You know, Orge, I say that all the time, that I would rather someone come up to my face and tell me they hate me so I know where I stand than to stab me in the back and I don't know what's going on.
You and Zach Brannigan share a lot. That's I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but
that's how I feel about it.
For Futurama.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but
too funny. Well, guys, I don't know how much longer I should stay on.
Simply Secular Dave, right at the end, you show up.
No, he's been here for about 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm celebrating 420 a day late. Like I said, I was respectfully sober yesterday.
So my mom sent me a video of and I was happy, but I was also a little bit bummed out about the Chauvin verdict. Not about the verdict itself. I was happy about that, but the fact that my mom was watching it on Fox News, and so she sent me a couple Fox. I'm like, fuck, don't watch Fox News, please, don't watch Fox News. But she recorded Chauvin looking like a fucking deer in the headlights because that motherfucker thought he was actually gonna fucking walk. And that
was fucking hilarious.
Oh, he's gonna walk.
His eyes.
Like he's just blinking and like looking back and forth. Like
his eyes were like, what? What?
Yep.
What?
It was amazing.
I live for that shit. I live for that shit.
Yeah. I was watching his eyes the whole
great.
fucking
That
time.
was great.
Like I have it saved as a video on my phone. Like
do you know
I love it.
The next place he's gonna walk is in the general population.
He's probably not gonna last long
have a
there.
fucking field day with him. Yeah, Gen Pop's gonna have a field day.
He's probably gonna end up in isolation. Let's be real. Cops don't do well in Gen Pop, and especially a cop that was convicted of such an atrocious crime. Like there's a disproportionate number of Black people in Gen Pop, and let's just say that Chauvin's probably going to end up in isolation. Otherwise,
he'll end up in the hole. Yeah, they'll keep him in the hole, and he'll just lose his mind. So,
I mean, I don't actually like the idea of solitary confinement because I do believe it is torture, and it's inhumane.
Well, what they did with, and I know their crimes are nowhere close when I say this, but what they did with like Stacey Koon and the people that beat Rodney King is they gave them jobs and kept them near the guards so no one could clip them out because they're famous.
Oh, fair enough.
But California politics are different because they do that for Suge Knight is more protected than the president in jail, because they don't want anything bad to happen to him on their watch. So it's more LA politics, depends on who or what you are.
Well, yeah, it'd make them look bad.
Yeah. Of course. They don't in the funny thing in county jail, they tell you don't die in here. Don't get hurt because on the cops watch but all the prisoners will get charged if someone mysteriously dies in the cell. It's nothing but drama. So they'll tell you to your face don't die in here.
Yep, I like it, Ox. Because they put all the cops and shit together. What do you think the chances are there's a Black cop in there that's pissed at that dude? Just saying.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to bounce out while it's quiet in the room. So take care. Thanks for letting me in.
Great talking to you.
Thanks, Jorge.
Nice chatting with you.
Take care, Ogre.
Thank you, Purple. I think so too. It's a doctor's office, and there's 3 female doctors there, and I talked to 2 of them, and they're really cool. And we were joking around a little bit about being like ADD and OCD and all this shit. So, yeah, came out good.
That's great news.
Yeah,
Thank you,
congratulations.
Thank you,
Lee.
Kitty. Thanks, Rex. Yeah, I had to do something. I'm just stressed all the time about money. If I just made enough to live off of, then I'm fine. I'm not stressed about shit. I'm totally chill all the time. It's
Well,
just
that's the
that
thing,
almighty
like,
fucking dollar you need to pay your bills with,
money doesn't buy happiness. However,
No.
if you don't have enough to survive, you can't truly be happy. So there
Right.
is a balancing act there,
Mhm.
which is why my socialist self says that there should be a baseline below which you cannot fall, where everyone's basic needs, healthcare, housing, food, and in this day and age, internet as well. Like you need these things to get along in this world, and they
Right.
should all be provided for everybody, because eventually there's not going to be enough jobs for everyone. There's already more people than jobs. Like they use sketchy unemployment numbers to make it look better than it actually is. There are a lot more people that are unemployed than the national numbers will actually show, because the figures that they choose to use show only people that are actively searching for work. If you are out of work because you have to take care of a sick family member, if you've given up on looking for work because you've tried for 2 years and haven't been able to find a job, if you're underemployed where you're working 15 hours a week so you don't get any benefits, but you're getting a little tiny bit of money but not enough to live off of, none of those people are counted in those figures. And that makes up a huge number of people in this country. So ultimately, I believe that, the government should be providing for everyone's basic needs. And
See, the one thing.
we
Oh,
can do
sorry.
it. We just don't choose to. We don't prioritize it.
If we helped people out, it would help them go in such a positive direction. I was talking about this today with my mom. I have a cousin who was a complete heroin addict, complete loser. He did 6 years in prison. He's got Arizona Gangster tattooed on his face. He has no gods, no worries tattooed on his arms. And hold on.
But real quick, while he's intermissioning, one thing I will say is, ultimately, like, we have the means as a nation to do it, and like I'm hoping that people will open their eyes and realize that there are things that we need to take care of in our own country before going and trying to do things like regime change in other countries. And if we could provide for the basic necessities of our citizens, I'm hoping we can get to that Star Trek Federation type future where we are post-capitalist and people's needs are met. But if we continue on the path that we're on right now, we're going to end up more Mad Max, warring over water and fucking pirates.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Okay,
almost
that's
there.
a
Well, when it
Yeah,
comes to
we're
employment,
almost there.
you got to
So
look at both
I'm hoping
sides
for
of
a
the employment
Roddenberry
thing.
future.
The employers are looking at resumes by the hundreds, if not thousands, and usually they get thrown in the trash. And if they sit there for too long, they're already just going in the trash, and they just put more on top of the pile. And now they have software that just kicks your resume right off of there if you don't have every single word right. And so a lot of times employers aren't even looking at these resumes for all these people who are struggling to get a job. Now, that being said, employers are looking for somebody who's most qualified and most capable to do these jobs.
At a lower
and
rate.
They are pretty picky. Yes, at a lower rate. And they say they don't discriminate, but they do. I know plenty of handicapped people that don't get jobs because of that very thing. And it's because the employer views it as, I don't think this person can handle this job. And I mean, you really can't blame them 100%, but we need to come together in some midpoint somewhere to where it can all work out for everybody, and we just haven't figured that out yet.
Okay, agreed.
Of course, I don't like the idea of overrunning capitalism. Go ahead.
So there we were, loser cousin, tattooed face, blah blah blah. Long story short, he's completely subsidized. He's turned his life around. He owns his own gardening business, and he has like 90 something houses. The guy makes his own money. I think he's a complete loser, but he's made something of himself. It's, but he was subsidized. He was helped. People gave him money, and so he made something of himself. He just didn't sit around and squat. Yeah, it just helped him.
We need to strengthen the social safety net programs, things like food stamps, cash assistance, moving to a universal basic income to give everybody a leg up. But we also need to adjust the education system and stop funding it solely by property taxes, because that creates an environment of haves and have-nots, where those that come from wealthy neighborhoods end up with a better education and a leg up on life than those that come from poorer neighborhoods. There should be standardized funding for school, so that it's based on every school gets X amount, and then on top of that they get X amount per student. And that way, if you have a large school that has an inner city school that has a large number of children, it would actually technically get more funding than a wealthier school with a smaller number of students, because they get the same baseline funding, but because of the per student funding on top of that, they would get more funding than the richer area school, but they would need more funding to take care of more kids. So it would balance out, and it would mean that everybody gets a better education and has a better shot at, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. It gives them straps to pull up, at least.
I agree, because even where I live, on this side of town, I received an education in high school that people get in junior college in LA. And it's because of money. And it's sad. It's socioeconomic. Like the very books that we had were used in a college, and they were used for a high school here on this side of town.
Basically, what we're talking about is what I keep saying. The conditions need to be created first for success for everyone. Right now, we don't have the conditions to where it's equal, to where everyone can be healthily competitive or have those chances to have success in life.
Exactly.
Even the ones who are capable of doing it.
Yeah, but like I am where I am because of nepotism.
Yep.
Like, I'm fine with, living in a meritocracy where the harder you work, the more you get, but only if the playing field is even.
Exactly.
I mean, sure, there's always going to be someone like Donald Trump, born with every amount of privilege that can fail upwards. But those would be exceptions, not the rule, where, you have somebody that they might be the first person in their entire family to go to college, but then they end up becoming a millionaire CEO, because they worked hard at it, but the playing field was leveled so that they had that opportunity. Right now, like, it's not just people of color, but poor people in general. It's just poor people are people of color are overrepresented in the poor side of things. But, it doesn't matter if you're black or white. If you're poor, you are at a disadvantage in our society, and you are held back from achieving greater things. We have no upward mobility. And like, that needs to be addressed. The income disparity needs to be addressed. The fact that, you have people, CEOs, where their money is making money and they're paying less in taxes than their secretaries that bust their ass 40 to 50 hours a week. Like, that's an issue. Like, we really need to do something about that. And I mean, I do believe that a UBI system would work. And the reason why I prefer UBI to like a federal jobs guarantee, which was Bernie's idea, I like Andrew Yang's idea for this better, because there are people like who are, disabled, or who are parents or caretakers of someone who is disabled. They can't go out and get a job, and, they have to take care of that person. So having, a UBI system helps them not fall through the cracks, because a federal jobs guarantee wouldn't do anything to help me, or people in my situation where I'm disabled and I have a child on the spectrum that needs, full-time caring. So ultimately, like, I'm not the only person like that has someone they have to take care of. Even my sister and her husband, they live with my parents because both of my parents have become disabled, and they help them out with things. And sure, they're not at the point yet where they need round the clock care, but my sister and her husband, like if they had a little bit of extra income where they didn't have to work so many hours, they'd be able to better take care of my parents, especially as they're getting on in age and their disabilities are going to hinder them more.
Right.
So I mean, that's why I
Yeah,
prefer
Maya,
UBI.
they got a leg up.
I don't believe that a UBI would blanket raise prices, like especially if you included price controls, in the legislation, so that people
I don't know
can't
what a
take
UBI
advantage
is.
of it. Universal basic income. It's basically, they already have it to some extent in
Oh.
Alaska, where every year, because of the sale of their oil, every year, every citizen of Alaska gets like $1,000 check or something like that. That is technically, a
Right.
UBI because everybody living in the state gets it. It's not means tested. It's not, because honestly, my UBI, everybody would get the money. It doesn't matter if you are a millionaire or not. For a millionaire, it's nothing. It's a pit. But for the people on the bottom, it literally could be life changing. And by not means testing it, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
best way to lower bureaucracy and make sure that everybody that needs it gets it. Because once you start doing means testing, then people fall through the cracks. I mean, case in point, this last stimulus bill that was just passed, Biden, against, my wishes, but like, who am I to tell Biden what to do? Like, he further means tested it than even Trump. So there are some people that got a stimulus check, a $600 stimulus check under Trump, that did not actually qualify for the $1,200 stimulus check under Biden because he caved to the pressure from the conservative Democrats and further means tested it. So it's a small amount of people, but those people were, they fell through the cracks. They were on the upper end of the income cap for the checks, and because Biden shrunk that number and further means tested it, those people did not get the extra stimulus checks. And that's not right. Like, that shows the Democrats are failing if Trump did better at one thing than they did.
That's like a 5-hour conversation because I'm biased.
Really, all of this is about a 5-hour.
No, I'm extremely biased towards our current administration, but not Trump. So I'm gonna shut my big fat mouth because they're not Trump.
You know what? And Biden is not Trump, and Biden is so far doing a pretty decent job. But I do think it's incredibly fucked up that he caved to Manchin and Sinema and further means tested the stimulus checks. And because of that, there are people that got stimulus checks under Trump that did not get them from Biden. And that is a failing of the president and the Democratic Party. They're supposed to be the party of taking care of people, of actually doing for the people. That's the mantle they've chosen to wear. And if they're going to do that, they cannot means test things into oblivion so that under Trump, people were served that were not served under the Democrats. We need to do better as a party. Like, I'm left of the Democrats. However, they are the closest to me politically of the two major parties.
I agree.
So I am a registered Democrat. I lived in a closed primary state. I vote in the Democratic primaries. So as a Democrat, like a very to the left of the Democrats Democrat, like, I will call them out on their failings, because if we don't, then we risk them running further to the right and further alienating people. And the thing is Hillary Clinton in 2016 proved that running to the right and trying to be Republican light does not work. Why would anyone want to vote for a Republican light when they can just vote for the full flavor Republican? Like, ultimately, you need to lean into the more, populist rhetoric and the more, democratic socialist, like, maybe not in those terms, but in strategy, if not terminology. You need to focus on strengthening a social safety net, on, raising the minimum wage, getting more health care to people. Like, these are populist things that, the majority of the country want. And if you're not leaning into those things, if the Democrats don't move to the left, then they're going to lose. And they're going to continue to lose until this country has been completely destroyed by the fucking batshit crazy Republicans that have gone so far to the right, they're off the fucking deep end.
Well, I've been saying this for a long time. We would literally have to dismantle our government and get rid of everybody in it. Now, I don't know who would oversee this because there'd be nobody left. And get rid of everybody in it and bring in all new people that have no political background, but just know their shit about whatever that subject is that they should know about.
I said
that would be and that's never going to happen. It's just going to have to collapse. There's no proving it.
You would literally have to tear it down. You would literally have to tear every branch of everything down to rebuild it.
And
but the problem is, but in history, I always see that history teaches us, and history has taught us that whatever replaces what you kick out usually is worse.
Which is why the best course of strategy isn't tearing everything down, but it's two things: campaign finance reform and getting money out of politics, and term limits. Because for every Bernie Sanders you get, you end up with fucking 10 Mitch McConnells. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, we need term limits so you don't have career politicians that are in their 30 plus years. And we need campaign finance reform with publicly funded elections where there is no corporate money, there is no PAC money, there is no nothing. It is just what the people donate to the citizens plus a small stipend from the government to run their campaigns, because they are ultimately popularity contests. And as Bloomberg proved in the last election when he entered the primary late but still rose starkly in the polls, it was because he spent millions of dollars on airtime.
Oh, he was everywhere. I almost voted for him. He was everywhere.
And that's an issue. If we take away their ability to spend unlimited amounts of money on things like advertising and basically campaigning, if we limit it so that everybody gets the same amount of money plus whatever the people donate to the candidates, then by having the politicians accountable to the people as opposed to the corporate donors, that would be a huge step in the right direction to get rid of the corruption in politics.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I do not think we should do what we do with elections. I don't think it should drag on for a year or a year and a half or whatever. It seems like it keeps getting longer and longer. I think it should be like a 30 to 60 day deal.
Okay, so with I believe
where is it? Australia or something, right? Where they do like 30 days, the people talk about what they think, and then 30 days they can't advertise at all, and everybody gets a chance to decide, and then you vote.
When Obama ran the first time, that was the first time I ever saw people campaign for over 2 years. So what happened?
Really?
So what happens in our country ever since then? People have campaigned from literally 2 years on. Well, they'll just like, hey, I'm running for president. Then a year and a half, hey, I'm running for president, and they just do not shut up about it. Obama proved that it worked though, because he just kept running and saying, hey, I'm running for president. I'm running for president. And they were like, hey, man, that's a year and a half. That's 2 years. And he became president. So.
Yeah.
Over inundation and being backed, it works.
Oh, over inundation is exactly what it is.
Citizens United.
It's like rote memorization. You're in school and you're learning your times tables. And what do they tell you to do? You read them over and over again. You write it over and over again. You'll remember those fucking times tables.
I said this today. One of the reasons that I speak Spanish is because I went to Mexico barely speaking any Spanish, and immersion works because it was sink or swim. Learn to speak Spanish or starve.
Right.
And that's the thing. Citizens United was a terrible decision, and that needs to be overturned because money is not speech. Corporations should not be able to spend unlimited money as an act of speech. There should be no corporate financing of elections. There should be no such thing as fucking corporate lobbyists.
I don't think there should be any donations to. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say any donations at all. because I think if someone is under a certain income bracket, that there should be a fund that can help them campaign themselves.
Okay, but the NRA,
I still like the idea of it only being a few months.
But the NRA shouldn't be able to give Mitch McConnell like $20 million.
Oh no,
and
fuck that! No,
somebody else $10 million and like
no, nothing from. I think we should put like there should be like taxes or something where we all pay like $2 because that would cover it. And if everybody in the nation paid $2, like Kitty said, we would be paying for them to campaign. You just say who you want to go to.
I don't know.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
The governor of Texas was recently pushing fossil fuels. How many millions of dollars did he get paid just to go out there and look like an idiot and be like, fossil fuels will save our lives, and I'm from the 1950s? Like, that guy there was $100 bills coming out of his pockets.
Now, Andrew Yang actually did talk about this, and I think he said like freedom dollars or something like that, where basically you get rid of all funding, all outside funding of political campaigns, and everybody gets an allotment of money that they can then donate to the candidate of their choice. And like I said, I'm fine with the current limits that we have on individual campaign contributions. I think it's like $2,500 from an individual. And so it's one of those things like, but if they got no other funding other than just the, like baseline, like publicly funded stuff, and then if individual donors wanted to do like the Bernie Sanders thing of, $29 or $30 at a time, which that's how Bernie Sanders raised his money. He literally got it from small dollar donors, people like me and you, where we're just like, we'll toss them $30 or $40. It's like, I'll skip a pack of cigarettes this week and toss it to Bernie because
that's my point. How many people are in the United States? How many adults are in the United States? I don't really know what that number is.
300 million.
But okay, so if everybody gave $1, if that's not enough over a course of like 2 months, I mean, that's
the 2016 election cost over $1 billion.
Yeah, and how long were they campaigning for?
That's stupid.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. I want to shorten that campaign time to 2 months. 30 days or even 2 months to campaign, and then 30 days of dead silence and not a fucking word about it.
Also,
and let everybody make their decisions.
Well, hey, gang. I'm going to call it a night. So
night, Randy.
My medications are kicking in, so I'm going to slip into another dimension.
Good night, buddy.
What the hell is that button?
But one thing I will say, we need to reevaluate and remove the rule that they currently have that keeps the two-party system in power. And that is that if you don't have a certain percentage of the vote, then you don't appear on the stage in the debates. And that's to keep third parties out of the main debate between the Democrats and the Republicans. We should get rid of that so that, if you have any percentage of the vote, you should be allowed on the stage. Even joke candidates, I don't care, because they're not going to be taken seriously. I would much rather open it up to more people, which you'll have your serious candidates from third parties. And sure, you might get some Darth Vader helmet wearing dude or a D's nuts kind of thing. But honestly, like, as long as you've properly registered to run for office, you should be allowed on the debate stage, period. Because
absolutely.
By keeping people out of that, you are keeping us deadlocked in the two-party system, which allows them to fuck us from both sides.
And not just a two-party system, but a two-party system with a limit on how low you are on the system before they won't consider you anymore because you don't have enough fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. I think I should be able to walk in and say, I want to be president, and fill out all the fucking proper paperwork, which I could totally do, and say I want to be president and campaign for it. I don't need to know all the debate points. You know what I tell everybody? I'm exactly like you. I've been this, I'm that, blah, 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 and I would win.
Then we should have like a playoff system.
Be honest.
Like you run
Try that.
you run for president in your area, and then you have to like beat out all the people, and then you have to beat all the people. Then you have to go to regionals. Then you have to go. That would be awesome. It would take
This
years.
ain't hockey, bitch.
It would take years,
But you
you'd
know
be able
what?
to do it.
But you know what?
See, here's the problem.
I don't know about
B.
years.
But no, we know how this goes because
that's not
Iraq,
really a bad idea, though.
No, but Iraq. No, you know where I got this from? We did it in Iraq. We did this in Iraq. This is exactly what we did in Iraq because everybody and their mother literally ran. So we let them all run. And it always stuck with me that we gave more democracy to Iraq than we ever did to our own country. Because they eventually dissolved into a two-party system, but we let everybody run. In their first election, everybody ran. That is the only way that you could do it. That's the only way.
Yeah. I can agree with that, Maya.
But I'm actually not even old enough to run for president yet. The earliest I could run would be for 2024.
How old do you have to be?
35.
35.
Oh, sewing for president.
See, I'm perfect. I'm like half chick. I'm half dude. I've been down and out. I've had money. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd vote for you, B.
Be for president. And you know what? I can guarantee you I would be fair.
First lesbian president would be awesome. There's some representation right there.
You know, and that's exactly the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem that joins all the other problems together.
Yes, Purple.
These fuckers being in each other's pockets.
Yes, Purple. We do have actual real elections because I knew somebody that went to a high school adjacent from me that went to Capitol Hill. So here in California, and this person had a Joe Schmo job before.
Oh, thanks, Maya. Somebody kick Maya out of the chat. No, I'm kidding.
So here in California, you can. Well, to be fair, I'm gonna run for president, shut everything down, and then be like, "We were lying," and then open up a real portal to hell. So they'll like you way more than me.
That'd be pretty cool to see, though.
Your OCD would come in handy as chief of staff, B. Just saying, your OCD would come in handy as chief of staff. You organize the shit out of all that stuff.
You know what? I told those ladies today, I said, I love organizing and like going, ooh, this is a problem. What can we do to fix it? I said, I love problem solving and stuff.
So you can be our chief of staff.
So we'll see you on Sunday. And I was like, yes, I'll see you on Sunday.
You know what's so funny? It's one of the most democratic things ever. My cousin,
I'll get more shit done as the chief of staff anyways.
My cousin and I, when we were in high school, to settle all debates, we'd play paper, rock, scissors.
That's great.
It's one of the most democratic things. We would be drunk at parties. We would not want to sit in the middle seat or something. And my cousin and I, we would draw hands. We'd look at each other like, all right, mother effer, let's go.
Done. Done.
Yeah,
but
that would be my first 100 days if I became president.
Marijuana.
I would federally legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana, like the same way we do, alcohol and cigarettes. Like,
don't play with me, Kitty. You do it with heroin and
I would. Well, I would, but I wouldn't start with that in the first 100 days. Like that would be
no. You got to ease
to.
people into the good drugs, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to jump in too fast.
Yeah, no. But because honestly, and my reason for saying it is
you
because
froze for a second like this.
No, it's my face. It's my face because my slogan would be legalize everything. Don't kill yourself.
There's my slogan: Make America high again. Thank you, Ox. That's it. That's what I'm going to run on.
Honestly, if we want to cut down on drug crime, if we want to cut down on the opioid crisis and overdose deaths and, cartel violence, the best thing we can do would be to remove their money source by legalizing, taxing, and regulating the drugs.
Yep.
And then the United States could make a shit ton of money off the taxes and the
but we already do though.
And it creates a lot of jobs.
But we already do, but it goes to the drug dealers and to the other drug dealers called the United States of America. This country, we do 70-something% of the world's illicit drugs, more than China, more than, I want you to think about that, more than like the entire continent of Africa. Like, we do more drugs and we have less people than anywhere else in the world. We do more pills, more weed, more anything.
We're also more depressed than most other places. If you look at the Scandinavian countries, they are way better off than we are. They are way
we're more
happier.
depressed. Our suicide rate's higher. Let's see what else.
But
Our divorce rate's horrible.
Yeah.
Also, Medicare for all would be a staple. Everybody would get health care. Like, I mean, I would push for that. And I would push for other reforms, expanding the social safety net to lead into social programs that will help. I would get my Secretary of Education to, redo the funding for education so that it would be funded the way I want it, so that all kids get equal access to a good education, not just if you are, lucky enough to be born to a family that lives in a rich area.
Right.
I agree 100%.
And with regulated drugs.
Maya, yes.
And that's the thing. A lot of the people that are dying from like heroin overdoses and stuff, it's because it's not actually clean. They're doing a dose that normally
they're cutting it to save money.
It normally gets them high and they're fine, but it's got something else in it like fentanyl. And because of that, they end up doing their normal dose, but dying from it because it's 100 times stronger.
On the spot.
Ultimately, regulating it would make it safer and lower the opioid deaths.
There are alerts all the time. Like, they even have it on the news sometimes. Like, hey, there's an epidemic of people dying from this strain of heroin or blah, blah, blah. And even on the news, they'll say like, hey, in LA, this is spiked with something. Be careful.
In Columbus, Ohio, before I moved away from there, on the southeast side, particularly the southeast side of Columbus, there's a pretty rough area right through there. And I want to say it was like 25 or 27 people OD'd in 3 days, and like 13 or 14 of them died because it was laced with fentanyl. This was a few years back when they started doing that.
So we
were all very shocked at the time. We were like, what are they doing? The fuck? We had no idea that it like started something.
Same thing in Portland, Oregon over 20 years ago. Same exact thing. Just a rash of people were just dying.
And if we have access to safe drugs and we have access to healthcare where most people don't end up with serious addiction issues. Like, most people are functional on the drugs they take. And of those that do end up with addiction issues, as long as they're getting clean and regulated drugs, they're less likely to die from it. And if they have health care that covers mental health care treatment and covers substance abuse treatment, so they can go and seek help if they need it because they're not a functional user, then that should be included. Everybody should be able to do with their own body whatever the fuck they want. And that includes imbibing substances that are not good for you. However, like, there should also be stopgap measures in place to help people that have addiction issues seek the treatment that they need to lower the death rates.
Well, but if they had the treatment and they had health insurance and they had all those great things, they wouldn't be like, oh no, you don't have insurance, we don't want you here, because that's what happens. And so they could actually get into those facilities and get help and have a therapist when they get out. See, isn't that a crazy idea?
And if people have their baseline needs met, if they have living wages, if they have a social safety net that fills in the gaps for people that can't work, if they have healthcare, they're less likely to be depressed and turn to drugs to self-medicate. So then they could do it casually as something for fun. It's like, oh, I'm going to go, I'm having a party this weekend. Let's, take some ecstasy and just have a good time, ecstasy and an orgy on Saturday night. Why the fuck not? Like, do you, boo, as long as it's all consensual, But
right.
Like, when it comes down to it, like, legalizing drugs, like all drugs, even the harder stuff, is the better alternative, because prohibition does not work. It has never worked. And alcohol prohibition proves that. When we prohibited alcohol with the constitutional amendment, people still drank. They made bootleg liquor, or you had the mafia bosses that were making and running bootleg liquor to the speakeasies and everything like that. The mafia got more power than they had ever had in their entire history because we had put forth the prohibition of alcohol, and they filled that demand.
I would agree with you partway on that, Purple. I don't think that you have to think of the percentage of people out there that aren't having those problems because of money. They just have those problems. But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But that's ultimately the thing. We would have a healthier, happier society. And not just because they'd have access to things like fucking opium. Like, you know.
Right.
The one thing money gives you is consistency, though. And so there's a lot of people that have money that can hide their drug habits because they can just consistently do it. And if something happens, they get treatment immediately. You know,
but if they're functional and they're not hurting anybody, then, you know, whatever they want to do, like it's their body, it's their life.
Where I'm from, there's an actual rule. Like, if you can handle whatever you're doing, people will leave you alone. Both of my parents were functioning alcoholics. And I say that because they got up every day and went to work every day. I mean, no matter what the obligation was, if I had soccer at 7 a.m, they would get up and be there, you know? And I kind of respect that.
Drink. Like, I did all my drinking pretty much before 21. Like, I will have a drink or two a year at most. You know
me, I quit drinking.
The past election was an exception where I drank a whole bottle of wine on election night when I saw that red, and I was freaking the fuck out. But like that was just stress drinking. I don't usually drink very much.
I got so high that night I needed a space helmet.
Yeah.
Until weed is legalized federally, I will not imbibe in it. Even though it does help me with my pain, I won't, not until it's legal.
It's not worth the drama, especially in your state. They enforce it hardcore, so it's not worth the drama.
I mean, I could get a medical license. Like, we do have legal medical weed here now, but
yeah, we do here too.
I still won't risk it. Like, I have a kid. I worry about like CPS, like, because I am in a red state. Like, Florida's not a purple state anymore. It's a red state. And they begrudgingly passed or allowed for legal medical marijuana because we passed it in a ballot initiative constitutional amendment. Like, the people passed it, not the politicians. And they spent, over a year and a half trying to weasel their way out of passing it before they finally begrudgingly started allowing everything to get set up into place to allow the infrastructure for medical marijuana dispensaries here.
I think a lot of it too is propaganda, because I still do not understand how a lot of these states do not see the paperwork from other states that are like, hey, we've made money hand over fist. We've saved schools. In Oregon, they've saved schools. In California, that we always need tax money here. Always. We always need new roads. Our infrastructure just sucks here.
Well, the infrastructure across the country gets a grade of D+.
It's awful.
Our infrastructure is literally crumbling.
We still... Was it the 84 Olympics were in Los Angeles? Hold on, I have to go before I spout my propaganda. We still have structures that were from the 84 Olympics. We still have murals on the freeway that were from the 84 Olympics. It's a wreck here.
There are bridges. There are bridges in the United States that literally structural engineers are like, I am surprised it has not collapsed yet, because they have not been maintained. They have not been replaced. And it is literally a wing and a prayer and duct tape and bubblegum holding these things up from killing a bunch of people when they collapse.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. I've been from coast to coast in this country. It is scary. The only way I can explain it is that for every state that you leave, your hometown or wherever you're from, you lose 10 years. So by the time you get to the South, it's the 1950s.
Well,
The infrastructure of
honestly,
this country it's scary. It's just
Florida has been a red state since longer than the 2020 election. We have had nothing but Republicans in the legislature now for like 15 years for the state legislature. And they're the ones that have imposed, harsher voting restrictions like voter ID laws and so forth. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, I believe the state went for Obama in like 2008, but and maybe in 2012, but ever since then, we have been a red state. We've been controlled by nothing but Republicans. And in 2016 and 2020, it went for Donald Trump. We're no longer purple. We're no longer a swing state.
Yikes.
Like, fucking, we had Governor Voldemort, Rick Scott. He's now a senator for Florida. Now, this man was governor for 8 years, and he was elected after his company was convicted of the largest case of Medicare fraud ever. But he was elected twice after that as governor and then as senator. He replaced the last remaining Democrat senator that we had.
Wow.
See, the problem is, like you said earlier, our elections are.
And yes, Florida is the state that just allowed drivers to run over protesters.
We have our elections are popularity contests. And the dangerous thing about that is we're going to get people more either left or right that are just going to be more and more and more extreme. Then you get stupid laws like in Florida where now you can run over protesters.
Here's the thing. You need to look up the political ads that Ron DeSantis ran during the, I think it was 2018 election. Essentially, he's sitting there with his family, reading The Art of the Deal to his child, using building blocks to build the wall. He's literally giving Trump's asshole a rim job in the entire commercial, and he got elected as governor of this state.
Oh my God.
That's disgusting.
Talk about running on the back of another piece of shit.
He literally is essentially Donald Trump, but for our state. Now, my sister works for Harley Davidson, or, she did. And they just allowed Bike Week to happen. 20-something employees ended up with COVID because they did not enforce masking on the people that were there. My sister was one of them. A couple of her coworkers ended up in the ICU, weren't even sure if they were going to make it. Nobody from Harley fucking called any of those employees to check on their condition while they were fucking sick, even, checking in with family of the ones in ICU. And fucking Ron DeSantis, our governor, was there at the event, not wearing a mask, getting close to the employees and close to other people that were there. And he did the same thing.
He should just campaign by having like him with Trump's dick in his mouth, like,
exactly.
like
that
would have been enough.
That's what his campaign was. That's what his campaign was. It was literally him sucking off Trump, and he won. He beat out Andrew Gillum, who was a fucking level-headed, reasonable, intelligent black man. When this guy has just got fucking Trump's dick so far down his throat, it's coming out his asshole. Like, it's fucking insanity.
So as somebody who's from California, when I see political ads from other states, it makes me want to puke. Do you know even our far right ads are like, vote for me, and they'll show their family, they'll show them like on a Sea-Doo, walking the dog, and that's it. Even our extremely right Republicans, they would not dare mention Donald Trump or anybody like that. So it shocks me when I see some guys like, like you said, putting up a wall, they're walking around with AKs or their whole face. Like when I see these stupid photos of people with their kids with guns, what makes me laugh? I actually have a picture like that with me as a baby holding a gun with my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, but that was a different time. People do that now. That's either like rednecky, which I'm okay with that because some families do that and they'll like all wear camo. Like I get that. But when you're doing it like casually, like your 5-year-old has a pistol in his hand and you're just all like, yo, like I'm badass. Look at my family. We're Trump support or whatever. Like,
I want to give
no.
everybody context. That's the link to the DeSantis ad that I was talking about. It's 30 seconds long, and if we talk about it, I believe it would fall under fair use. So if you want to put it up so that everybody can see, this is an ad that actually ran on televisions here in the state of Florida for Ron DeSantis.
I'll just give it to them and they can.
Okay. For the election. It is 30 seconds long. It is disgusting, but it's also a train wreck that you can't look away from.
See, Maya's on the same thing. Like our Republicans, they tread real lightly because they know that we're like, what? You're Republican? Can you get negative votes?
Right. You get votes at all? Although I have to say, I think it was Ox that said earlier, I'm with whoever was saying in the chat. I don't trust any politicians. I just don't trust any of them.
So think about it. Anybody who craves power should get a mental evaluation.
Yeah. So think of it like this: like anybody that you guys have heard on TV that are above like mayor or governor, because I haven't heard of those people. Pretty much everybody else above them, I don't trust any of them. If I see them on TV at least once, I probably don't trust them.
I trust Bernie because he's been consistent and he has fought for the working class and for Americans, and he doesn't take the large campaign contributions, but he is a diamond in the rough.
There are a very small number of exceptions to that rule, yes,
and
there's exceptions to every rule.
The truth is, they should all be Bernie wearing someone's mama's mittens. They should all be like Bernie, bro, like campaigning like, can I take a minute of your time? I'm running for senator of blah, blah, blah. Like they should all be broke as hell, asking for a dime, literally standing on a soapbox with their iPhone like, hey, hear me out,
Like Bernie, Bernie may be a millionaire.
Purple. I've gotten the same thing. Mom, not dad, thank God.
He's literally the poorest senator. Bernie Sanders is.
Yeah.
Because he's not in it for the money. Like, sure, he did a book deal. He made like $2 million or something like that, and he does have, a net worth of a few $1 million, but that is nothing compared to everybody else, in the Senate. And he is literally the poorest member of the Senate.
Right.
Kitty, I'm a capitalist, so I believe in if somebody wants to pay you for a book, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I respect Bernie because he actually is what our politicians used to be. He's grassroots, face to face. He reminds me of someone almost.
Dr. Martin Luther King. He got arrested next to fucking civil rights activists. He was for gay marriage back in like the 90s. Like
that is true.
Before it was even a thing. He was fighting for civil rights, before it was in vogue. Like fucking even Obama and Hillary Clinton didn't come out for gay marriage until like 2012 or something like that. Well,
they're plastic. See, that's the difference though, is because they're plastic. And someone like Bernie is an actual politician who gives a shit.
No, he's not a politician, I don't believe. Like, I honestly think he's just a decent fucking dude that he got into politics because he wanted to make a change.
But that's what I'm saying.
For the better.
That's what that's the problem. That's the ideal.
It's what a politician should be.
Exactly. Yes. Like I said, they all should be like Bernie. They should all be like
not like Mitch McConnell.
He makes it like do you know, I just like him more than Trump.
Same. Because he's actually done more to harm our political system and our country and the working class people in this country than anyone else in our nation's history. I wholeheartedly believe.
I agree.
He's done more harm to our country and democracy than anyone else.
And he's he's a butt snorkeling weasel. He switched on Trump's side so fast it made my head spin because I was like, you know what? The turtle's going to stop this BS. The turtle is going to be like, no. And then Trump's first day in office, he was on his knees giving him a Remy.
Well, and that's because he was riding his popularity and it was a political calculation, which like, honestly, after he won, and, he realized he could use his popularity with the hardcore base and he can, use the majority that he had in the Senate and, having the presidency to push forward his agenda like the fucking $2.7 trillion tax cut that is going to end up costing the American people even more money than that over the next 10 years, which we knew it was going to be the case, but the Republicans lied to the American people.
Are these guys hoping they won't be alive in 10 years? Like they know they're going to be around and we're going to be like, hey, you screwed us over.
They're expecting us not to remember.
I don't get it.
You forget, only half of the American populace actually votes. Most people don't get engaged in politics. They don't pay attention, which is why someone like fucking Bloomberg can rise so heavily in the polls, because people just hear the name and they're like, oh yeah, I saw that guy's commercial. He seems all right. I'll vote for him. Not knowing anything about his platform or his record or anything. It literally comes down to just name recognition.
Like I said earlier, I would have voted for him because of everything you just said. He was on every time I'd click on my phone, every time I'd turn on my computer. He was that ad, and I was like, well, he's not Trump. If he makes it, I'll vote for him, no matter what his platform is. And that's sad.
Yeah, it's sad that we have to lower ourselves to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lesser of two weevils and not the good one. Where's the good one? The good one always gets kicked out because he's not in enough people's fucking pockets and not jerking their dicks.
Exactly.
Well, and I mean, that's another reason why McConnell didn't put a stop to the Stop the Steal bullshit that was going on. And he was allowing it because he was hoping it would succeed. He was hoping that the Republicans would be able to steal the 2020 election. Yes. And when it failed, then he turned on Trump because he was no longer useful to him. Like, essentially, fucking Mitch McConnell is Cersei Lannister, but, like, not hot.
Oh, he's not double-faced. This is the first time I've ever said this in English. He's not double-faced, he's triple-faced. Depending on what side, he will turn over his own side. He doesn't give a shite. He only wants
no scruples, no morals, no honor, no integrity.
I haven't used this word since high school, but he's one of the jankiest human beings I've ever seen. He's so janky.
I know that word.
Oh, this is why I don't talk about him, because he's bad for my blood pressure. Because every time I see him, I'm like, why are you still here? Why do you exist? And that's not even I don't wish harm upon him. How is that asshole still in office?
Let's just hope that history records his atrocities accurately so that future generations can despise him.
The only reason they will is because of people like us who are saying this, and because of objectivity.
Well, there's also the internet now. I mean, honestly, one good thing, even if we don't have my UN, truth ministry kind of thing that I would like to see, like, an accurate anthropological record of events. Like, if we don't have that, the closest thing we have to that is the internet. And, the internet is forever, barring some PM post that takes out the entire infrastructure. Like, everybody will be able to see this, and we will be able to pull up the documentation and show, like, here's him flip-flopping on this. Here's him doing this atrocity. Here's this atrocity. The internet keeps a record of things. And as long as people continue to talk about it and to show the receipts, then it will be properly recorded in history.
I hope so, because the end of Trump's presidency was a I hope people look back on pity on us for the last 6 months of Trump's presidency. The shit they allowed to happen. Mitch McConnell should be in prison right now. Just for that time. Let's just take that one period in time about our country almost burnt down completely, and we're still not out of it by any means, in any way, shape, or form. Excuse me. They should all be in prison. That's why I've said all day today, because I've been live streaming all damn day, that we should get rid of all of them. We have all these prisons in California. We should put all their asses in prison. Get rid of all of them. Start over.
I'm still salty that we missed out on the opportunity to have Bernie Sanders as president. It was stolen from him in 2016, and, it was stolen from him again in 2020.
Not in California. But over, like, in the Netherlands or something like that, they don't use their jails, so they rent them out to other people like Germany and shit. So I think we should rent those jails, and that way they're all the way over there by themselves, and their family can't visit them. Because fuck them.
No, but they'd be getting better treatment
can't
there
afford
than
to
they
go
would in
visit
a
my
California
family.
prison.
California, we have some of the worst prisons on planet Earth.
Yeah,
in
no, they'd
California.
be getting like gold star treatment. It would be like club fed
Okay.
for them in the Netherlands. California, they'd be forced into fucking firefighting.
They'd be in the shoe. They would be in the shoe with like the
Leave them in the
hands.
shoe. No, don't leave them in the shoe. It's too easy for them. Sit there and gloat about themselves.
They'd be in there with
Once
some of
they
the
beat their
hardest,
ass.
some of the most hardened criminals on planet Earth. You know. I don't know. We have these elaborate facilities. And another thing, our country has turned to a point where we are at a point now where civil servants are gunning down citizens. And I think we have to put it at that point where people who are paid to protect us are gunning down citizens, and we always call ourselves civilized, even though we're nowhere near civilized. You know, nothing's really changed except for the fact that we can record it.
But, I mean, bringing light to the situation is one way to effectuate change. Chauvin was convicted.
I agree, and
Like,
I'm
it is
cynical as
a
hell. That's why I try not to say anything, because I'm so cynical, because I'm like, you know, I'm old school from the 90s, and I remember every trial, every person killed over cigarettes, Trayvon Martin, every freaking everybody. And it gets old after a while.
Trayvon Martin was killed 30 minutes away from me and like 15 minutes away from where I used to go bowling before the pandemic.
I was like him. And so when I saw his picture, like I was crazy when I was a kid. I would have done the exact same thing, you know, just wandering around like what's his face? Like he would have shot me, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Trayvon Martin, this is so cliche, but he's like all of us, you know. So I'm just extremely cynical when it comes to this entire situation. I'm glad that he got convicted on every single charge. It's just, you know, maybe someone should learn the effing lesson, and we should stop shooting each other. We should stop, you know. And now it's all based on fear.
See, that's the part of the retraining I think they should do with the police. I think they should take the police in, show them how the system works, and that they work for us.
Yes! I don't get that. That's my whole point. Because I'm high and tired.
It don't work like that. It's like going into your boss and pulling a gun on him and saying, you better fucking blah, 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 and then expect you to keep your job. But they fucking keep theirs. Like, anybody else does that, you're gone.
And I know, like, don't ever take any advice from Godless Sewing. But here, like, we tell the cops to F off. Like they're like, if you're walking down the street and a cop is like, hey, what are you doing? I'll say, minding my own effing business. How about you? You know, because
that would get you shot.
No, they don't, but they're supposed to, Maya.
They've been sued and busted so many times. Like, you know, the sheriffs are the worst. You know what's sad is that the LAPD has been so stripped down, so sued, so washed, so turned into like you have to protect the people that you're better off with the LAPD than you are the sheriffs, because the sheriffs are an army. They are California's private army. There are more sheriffs than I don't even know what, because we have prisons, we have people on the streets in every county that's not LA, from San Diego all the way to basically Oregon are the sheriffs. They're an army. It's unreal here. We need to defund them and build schools.
Here's the thing. Michael had a cop pull a gun on him once. He was driving in his work vehicle. Like, this was back when he worked for the state and he worked for the EPA. And so he's driving a state vehicle, and this cop pulled him over, saying that he was speeding, saying he was doing like fucking 30 miles over the speed limit. And Michael, you know, was like, he went to write Michael a ticket, and Michael wanted to read the ticket, and he's like, no, you need to just sign it. And he was like, I'm going to read it first. And then the cop got really aggressive and pulled a gun on him. Michael called 911 and just left the phone there while he's calmly explaining to the police officer, I want to read what is on the ticket before I sign my name to it, you know. And another police officer, actually that guy's supervisor, pulled up behind, and Michael was like, here, this is a state vehicle. I can show you right here. There's like not only a governor in it so that I can't go 30 miles over, but it actually tracks in the system how fast I was going. I can show you these receipts. The supervisor actually told the other dude to just fucking leave. And Michael got an apology from the guy, but like it could have gotten way worse. And Michael could have been killed by that police officer at that time, had he not have the foresight to quietly dial 911 and like the operator hears the exchange going on, and Michael's like, look, I just want to, you know, and he's trying to talk calmly to the cop, you know, just, hey, you know, everything's fine, you know, just calm down. Like, I want to understand why you're writing me a ticket because I know I wasn't speeding. I can show that with this computer system here in this car. So
it's the worst. And the funny thing is, like, I don't even know where to begin with the police. That's another 5 hours. I could go off. I have issues when it comes to policing in general in the United States because I grew up in the 5 seconds where America got along. In that 1 week in the 90s, I was there wearing hammer pants with a flat top. And
I remember that week. Good week.
So
I was only a little kid at that time. I mean, depending on when in the 90s, I was either 4 or 13.
I have beef with the cops. I'm not a fan. And I try to separate people from what they do, but that's one profession where you could make a mistake and be remembered for life, like people like me.
Like, I got into an argument with a cop once when he pulled me over for speeding when I wasn't actually speeding. And, you know, he was like, you know, you were speeding. And he was like, you were doing 47. And I was like, the speed limit's 45. And, you know, in Florida, they cannot actually even pull you over unless you're doing more than 5 miles over the speed limit, because they can't write you a ticket for, you know, less than 5 over, because it's basically people's speedometers could vary slightly, you know, so they give you that 5 mile an hour gimme where they, you know, it's benefit of the doubt kind of thing. So, you know, and then he tried to argue with me, well, I saw you, you know, doing, you know, 40, you know, 7 on the other street over here too. And I was like, yeah, the speed limit's 45 on that street, it's 45 on this street, and where you pulled me over, the speed limit had jumped up to 50. So, like, I got to use my privilege to argue with a cop and not worry I was going to get shot in the fucking face because, you know, I didn't. And, like, literally, you know, I spoke with him and, you know, talked myself out of a ticket, which he couldn't actually write me anyway, and then was able to name drop the person who actually ran the police academy, was in charge of the police academy in the area where this guy trained under, who was actually a friend of mine and had a full ride through the police academy for me if I decided I wanted to be a cop after high school, job placement and police academy. However, I ended up having surgery that triggered my disability, so like I wasn't able to utilize that. But again, it was a privilege that I had and utilized in that moment, but not everybody has that opportunity. And just by being a little bit darker complected than me, that situation could have gone completely differently. In fact, I have another friend who also white, this one is a white male, got pulled over by a cop, and the cop was like, you know, you're speeding. And, you know, the guy's like, dude, the speed limit is this. And he was like, yeah, but on this road, it's this. And he tells the cop, dude, we're not on the road you just said we're on. We're actually on the road I said we're on, where the speed limit is, you know, 10 miles an hour over. And the cop like walks back, you know, checks the straight sign, and then just hands him back his stuff and says, you're free to go. Because like he kind of like got a little egg on his face there for, you know, pulling someone over and thinking they were on the next street over where there is like a jump down, a drop down in the speed limit.
Yeah, but it definitely would not have gone that way otherwise. I agree.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's only one time I've ever actually gotten a speeding ticket, and it was actually in the speed trap in Emporia, Virginia. And I looked it up, and like they actually do this to people from out of state. I was driving back from going up to Massachusetts, and it's the middle of the night. I got my cruise control set at like 5:10 over, and I'm just going. Now, how the cops said I was doing 10 over, I wouldn't have argued because, I was doing between 5 and 10 over, somewhere in that. But it's I-95 and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just cruising down the road, going about my business. But I would not have argued for a ticket for that. He said I was doing 20 over the speed limit. And I know for a fact that I wasn't. And also, there were 3 cars. There was a car in this lane, and I was slowly passing that car. And then this other car comes up from the other lane and whoosh right by me. That car had Virginia plates. My car had Florida plates. Guess who Deputy Donut decided to pull over? No, I mean it. This dude was like 400 pounds. No fucking way he could pass a physical fitness test.
So,
and the motherfucker pulled off to the Dunkin' Donuts after writing me a ticket. He's like, well, I got my quota. And he went to go get him some. Oh, so pissed off.
Imagine how much money these counties make off of tickets and pulling all of us over.
Oh, my God.
They targeted, and I looked this up because other people that were locals, like there was like a whole forum about this town. And like I said, it's called Emporia, Virginia. And it very much, that is how they make their money, is they target people with out-of-state license plates because they know that they're not going to fight it. And they make they make the fines low enough where the fine that I was charged for going allegedly 20 miles over the speed limit was like $140. Like, it was under $200 just in gas alone, because we're talking back in 2009-ish when gas was like nearly $4 a gallon. Just in what I would spend to fill up my gas tank to go up to Virginia, not even counting a hotel room, to actually fight it in court, I would have spent at least double what the actual fine was. So I just ate the fine, and I had to pay it. And
we get out of state. They do that to truck drivers all over the place. They're like, "Oh, you're if you want to contest this, your court hearing is in 2 weeks." You know, I'm not going to be here in 2 weeks. I'm going to be on the other side of the United States in 2 weeks.
It's so bad
because
here.
That's where my plates are from.
Here in California, if you're here more than 2 weeks, 2 weeks, they want you to get a California license. So if you come here on like a 3 or 4 week vacation, you almost have to lie if you get pulled over, because our laws are so messed up. Even cops will tell you, like, we have some of the most messed up driving laws. I don't know how people basically, if you get a ticket, you're effed, because our tickets start at $800, $900.
I couldn't afford that.
Speeding,
no.
I always tell the story about how I had almost 3,000 something in tickets in 2017, just because it was DWB, driving while black. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be real. But I kept on paying it. And there was this one cop who almost took it as a challenge because I ticked him off. Because I told him to his face, like, F you, I'm just going to pay it. And you're going to have to keep ticketing me. So this guy would follow me to my kid's school and everything. The cops are the worst. They are just absolutely the worst.
Yep.
You should be able.
They teach them to be incompassionate.
It's not even about compassionate. What happens is we get the worst in our society doing these jobs because anybody can be a cop. I'm sorry.
Nobody's gonna call the cops for the nice guy walking across the street.
But we get we get people who who couldn't do a million other jobs and ended up being a cop. I know a lot of people who didn't do anything in their life. They became cops because they weren't doing anything, but they know they'll get great money. They'll have a pension, it's like almost like the military, Yeah. So especially here in LA, because nobody wants to get a cop, we have now cops with like the security guard mentality who are scared of everything. You're the threat right away. Like I said, I'm one of those people who I think we should get rid of the entire system, but you know, it is what it is.
I mean, if we did, like, it would be replaced by something worse. Like,
Always.
the best way is to reform it, not burn it all down.
History is a great teacher, like I said earlier, and no, it's always look at, you know what, even in recent history, look at Iraq. How's Iraq doing? Awful, you know. It's just whatever gets replaced usually gets replaced with something worse.
I mean, like back in the 70s, wasn't Iraq like way more like progressive and liberal? Like
Iran.
Women, or it was Iran? Okay.
Yeah.
I know it was one of them where like women wore skirts and it literally just looked like, 1950s America. Like it looked like normal. And now you've got women covered head to toe in fabric and you've got Sharia law and it's sad.
Ever since the revolution. So basically they were us. But the thing is, too, we create our own enemies because when they tore the embassy down, they found paperwork that found out that us and Israel were running their country. We took their sovereignty. You know, we always talk about politics, but guess what? People have the right to run their country, you know? And so, again, we created that problem. That's why Iran hates us.
Bush Sr. created the Taliban, or at least he funded them and gave them weapons to fight the Soviets because it was a shadow war we were engaged in.
Exactly.
And when, the resources that were given to the Taliban were then turned around and used against us later on.
And that's why
our own it was a problem of our own making.
Charlie Wilson.
Hell, even ISIS, like, sure, like Trump's ridiculous when he says that fucking Hillary Clinton and Obama are like the parents or founders of ISIS. They're not. However, their fucking policies did lead to the rise of ISIS. The Islamic State rose up in the power vacuum when we destabilized the Middle East with our intervention.
Out of the rubble that we left them. This is the problem. We're really good at destroying. We're not very good at building back up, and that's as a species. I'm not even speaking as a flag shagging American. Like we're just terrible at helping each other. Because after we conquer somebody, like, why should we care? Honestly.
Or if we do build them back up, we want them as puppets, that we're controlling, and then when the people don't like the terms, then they overthrow the puppets and things descend into anarchy.
Yeah.
And more loss of life. I mean, the war on terror that we have fought for more than my entire adult life, that war started in 2001. And literally, I was a freshman in high school. So, like, for more than my entire adult life, we have been at war in the Middle East for an amorphous, ambiguous enemy that they can constantly shift the goalposts. And ultimately, it was our involvement in the Middle East in the first place that created the circumstances that led to 9/11 and the attack on us. If we just minded our own fucking business and got out of the politics of the Middle East, most of them don't want us dead because they hate our freedom. They want us dead because we're fucking killing their civilians. Fucking 250,000 civilians have died in this war on terror. And when it comes down to it, just here's a thought experiment for you, okay? Say you are happy, you're living in a small town, you've got your family, you go out to the store and, at home, your house, you've got your children, your parents, your cousins, you're having a big party, but you realize you forgot birthday candles. So you go out to the store. And then a signature strike hits the wrong place and ends up landing on your house, killing everyone inside. You survived because you weren't there at the time, but your entire family was in that building and it was destroyed by the American bombs that were just dropped on it. If that were me, I would harbor resentment for the country that killed me. I would be radicalized and want to destroy and get revenge on the people that killed my entire family.
Right.
That's why they hate us. It's because we're killing their sons, their daughters, their brothers and sisters, their parents and grandparents. If we stop fucking killing civilians in the Middle East and get the fuck out of their politics and business, then they're not going to do this anymore.
If we're not killing them, we're always arming the people in power.
Or we're doing like what we were doing in Syria, where we're literally the fucking military, the Pentagon is backing one side in a conflict, the CIA is backing another, and we literally have backing on both fucking sides of a conflict.
Spelled it theoretically.
He hates it when I do that, so I've been doing it on purpose.
Oh
no, it started off as my California education. Then one day pointed it out and it got saved in my phone. So I have two choices, and sometimes when I'm too baked, I hit the wrong button.
But that's the thing. That's what radicalizes people. And throughout history, if you take family and friends away from people, it's going to cause resentment and anger and hatred. And that will be channeled into wanting to destroy the object.
See, but what they hope for is that people will say, I give up.
But that's not how it works.
Take everything away from me, I give up. Because that's what a lot of people do, unfortunately.
But in human nature, like, if you back someone in the corner, they start throwing rocks. You know? Like, they don't stop until they're dead.
We are animals. Some might give up and just take their own lives, or just live a hollow existence. But whatever percentage of people that decide to fight back, guerrilla tactics work, and insurgencies work, and ultimately terrorist attacks work. If you want to inflict the most amount of pain and psychological trauma on a country, you do something like 9/11. You take where people feel safe and secure on their own homeland, and you fucking wipe that fucking security away from them.
Absolutely.
You go after soft targets. You fucking, drop a bioweapon at the fucking Olympic Games, or, something along those lines. You poison, the water supply at Disney.
What are you saying right now? Quit giving people suggestions.
It's highly unlikely people would be able to actually.
No, I know. I'm just kind of being a smart ass. Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, when you take away everything from a person, some are going to give up. Others are going to want to hurt you back. And the best way to do that is to go after non-combatants and soft targets.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I'm tired. I'm done.
I need a shower.
I've been running around all day.
This is my second super long stream for the day. I'm done.
I'm killing it, man. I'm done. So, everybody in the chat that's still here, thank you so much for coming. I love all you guys. Will, as usual, thank you for coming. Kitty, I appreciate you coming with your brilliant brain tonight, despite being tired. Everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another.